Check one. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uno. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Welcome. It's great to have you all here today. Welcome to everyone in the room and also on Zoom. Yasmin is going to...
Es genial tenerlos a todos aquí hoy.
Okay.
Bienvenidos a todos en la sala. Y también en Zoom. Yasmin va.
I didn't realize there was going to be live translation, so I was going to have Yasmin talk about how to use the language access on Zoom. Is that going to come over? Okay, perfect. Great. If you could do that.
No me di cuenta de que habría traducción en vivo, así que iba a pedirle a Yasmin que hablara sobre cómo usar el acceso al idioma en Zoom. ¿Eso va a pasar?
Yeah. Unfortunately, my Spanish is not that good. But great to have everybody here today. I'm Joelle Gallagher. I'm the chair of the Napa County Board of Supervisors, and this has been a long time coming. So thank you so much to everyone who put this together. We have some people in the room, but I've been told that former Supervisor Diane Dillon worked on this for many, many years, and so I'm sure she would be really happy to know that this meeting's taking place today. So I'm just wondering where okay. Oh, geez, this is fancy. Okay. I'm just going to put everything up that's on one slide there. So simply put, broadband is just high-speed internet. I think sometimes we think, that this is some kind of interesting, strange word that we're not really sure what it means, but that's what it means. So when you hear that, that's what we're talking about. And this meeting is just intended to really engage the community, build partnerships, and take advantage of some new grant funding that we have available to us to really shore up our broadband and give access to everyone in our community. And we hope that you will continue to engage with us after the meeting is over. We will need your support and help in developing solutions to the challenges we will have. So the internet has become an essential tool for modern life. As you all know, we search for jobs. We do online education opportunities. We do our banking. We make doctor appointments and go to telehealth appointments. And we get access to entertainment, social media, and we interact with our government agencies as well. But we need to make sure that we have a fast and reliable connection. With everything that we do online, it's just not acceptable now to have the slow old days of the early internet. We need to move quickly and be able to rely that we can get connected. So broadband is also a great return on investment. Studies have shown that as much as $3 to $4 in return on every dollar spent in the form of higher revenues and lower costs. Plus, there are environmental and quality of life benefits. It means we don't drive as much because we can access services online from our home or our workplace. We can conserve resources such as water and electricity, provide early detection and response to catastrophes like wildfires and floods, which we know something about, and improve the quality of life for elderly and many of the disadvantaged populations in our community. And we'll hear about more benefits from other speakers. So we do have challenges ahead of us. Deploying high-speed internet is very expensive, and that is especially true in rural areas, as many of you know. We see low-income, elderly neighbors, non-English speakers who are left behind in the digital economy, and we have to bring equity to that process. We need to also strengthen people's skills so that they can navigate the internet and help them to also avoid scams and misuse of their personal information. So fortunately, we're in a time right now where there are a lot of great state and federal grant opportunities. They are making, both the state and the federal government are making billions of dollars available to mitigate the problems that we have had bringing broadband to our entire community. And we really need you to join us. as we put together a robust and affordable broadband internet access into our county. So welcome. We're happy you're here. We have a lineup of great speakers for you. And I'm going to introduce our Director of Information Technologies for the County of Napa, Jan Jesving.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, in person and online. And thank you, Chair Gallagher, for kicking this meeting off for us. We appreciate you attending this meeting. We also appreciate your continued support on such an important topic. I also want to thank all the participants joining us today, including all the speakers that are scheduled for the rest of the day here. For us to succeed in enhancing and expanding internet connectivity throughout the county, we need the input and support from both the communities and businesses in our county. So just real quick again, I'm Jan Jesving. I'm the Chief Information Officer or IT Director for the county. I'm also a member of the Napa County Broadband team, along with Mark and a few others. Just a quick brief history on Napa County's broadband efforts to date. We've created a few planning projects with some of our consultants. Those include Magellan Advisors, CBG, and Tilson. And with the latter, Tilson, they helped us build a county strategic broadband plan, which was recently adopted by our board. We've also established and continue to establish partnerships with internet service providers, or ISPs, to build internet infrastructure using grant funding. The most recent one was with Comcast in a partnership application for federal funding account grant money. We also used our local agency technical assistant grant, or LADA, for an engineering study, and we did this in partnership with Valley Internet. And with this, we helped design construction-ready projects, and you'll see that on the slide deck here of those areas that we have potential projects. We are looking for additional partnerships with ISPs for future grant applications based on our LADA designs. An important aspect of moving forward as a community partner team, all of us, is staying engaged with each other. And so we will be asking attendees to participate in working groups that will meet regularly on certain subject areas, for example, digital equity and literacy, internet-enabled technology, which will be used to improve productivity and reduce cost, and address broadband issues, especially deployment issues in our rural areas. Our speakers that are going to be coming up here pretty soon are going to go into more details around these areas. So, with that, please join a working group that interests you and help us make a difference in our broadband endeavors. So just some quick housekeeping here. We have Spanish translation service available, and I'd like to have Celeste Gonzalez come up, who is from our County Executive Office, to provide a little bit more information.
Hola. La traducción en español estará disponible. En la parte de abajo de la pantalla en Zoom, verás un botón para seleccionar Caption para español, escuchar y leer la traducción en tiempo real. En persona, para acceder a la traducción durante la reunión, haga clic en este enlace. Seleccione Español y haga clic en Asistir. Use sus auriculares para escuchar el audio o leer la transcripción en su dispositivo. Gracias.
Thank you, Celeste. Just a few more. The restrooms are outside the door and across the hallway. We have refreshments that are also outside the door on a table. Guest speakers will have 10 minutes for their presentations, and we will allow 5 minutes for questions and answers. Please hold your questions until the Q&A period. Guest speakers have also provided informational and promotional materials that is also located outside on a table. Finally, please visit our broadband page on the Napa County website at countyofnapa.org/broadband. Now, I'd like to introduce Supervisor Cottrell, who's represents the 3rd District, Napa County, and as our next speaker. Supervisor Cottrell has also been a strong advocate for our county's internet connectivity initiatives. She also serves as an oversight committee member, along with 3 other county board members, on our region's North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium, which includes Sonoma, Marin, and Mendocino counties. So with that, I'll turn that over to Supervisor Cottrell.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you for everyone who is here today. I also wanted to thank Supervisor Gallagher for framing the question and the need that we have and why we're gathered here today. And also to say a thank you to my predecessor, Diane Dillon, who, working with staff, did so much of the groundwork to build the foundation for what we want to build going forward. And I appreciate Jan's introduction. Besides all of that, I also would say that I'm someone who drives through much of our county where we really don't have great internet access. So I think I feel the need very, very strongly too. So what I'm here to talk about today is a recent step that the Board of Supervisors has taken that will help frame and direct how we can move forward here. On July 23rd, the board adopted a strategic plan for broadband. Copies are available outside here and also online at the website that Jan mentioned. And the plan can be boiled down to what we call the 3 A's. We have accessibility, affordability, and adoption. And what do those mean? Accessibility is making high-speed internet available
Accesibilidad y adopción.
to anyone who needs it, whether they're in a city or a remote rural area. And what we're doing on that front is to actively engage with internet service providers, or ISPs as we know them, and trying to make Napa County an attractive place for broadband investment. So companies will come here and build the infrastructure with us. And we are encouraging the use of multiple technologies, whether it's fiber or wireless, to help speed broadband development. So looking across the realm of what's possible. The second A is affordability. We encourage local internet providers to offer low-cost basic internet plans to qualified subscribers. And we support legislation to make fast internet affordable for all, including bills to reauthorize and fund ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, that helped over 3,000 households in Napa County to afford internet service. And we also support nonprofit organizations that refurbish computers and offer them to schools and low-income families at low cost. The final A is for adoption. We're initiating a community outreach program, and this meeting is the first kickoff of that, the first step, to increase public awareness of broadband internet's benefits. And Supervisor Gallagher laid out several of those for us today, and to publicize the programs for affordability and digital equity that the county offers and also that our community partners offer. I'd like to give a shout out to the Napa County Library. We've got our director here today. The library offers classes in basic internet skills and offers tech help to people who have questions about operating their computers or devices, and even lends laptops and wireless hotspots. And I know in my district, those are so important when people don't have another source of internet. So thanks to the library for that. And finally, we've initiated projects to bring internet access to 3 farm worker centers in the county and to expand the reach of the library's Wi-Fi. Napa County is also working beyond our borders. We are partnering with 3 neighboring counties, Sonoma, Mendocino, and Marin County. And as with those counties, we're members of the North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium. And you'll hear a little bit more about that from Kate in a minute. Our mission in that consortium is to develop regional broadband deployment and digital equity products, projects that will be eligible for the grant funding that has recently become available. And Jan referenced some of that beforehand. You'll hear more about that this afternoon. And we've also been engaging with Solano County to figure out where we can collaborate as well. And I'll also say that our county is working with counties across the state in regional and statewide organizations to push broadband, the broadband agenda forward. So that's what's happening here in the county. We're excited to have finalized and approved that strategic plan. Thank you to staff for doing that. And at this point, I'd like to bring up Kate Fosberg. She's the manager of that North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium. And Kate can tell us about that consortium and what we're looking to accomplish there. So thank you. And Kate.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Supervisor Cottrell. It's great to be here. I am Kate Fosberg. I'm the manager of the North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium, and I'm also the digital access analyst over at Sonoma County. So, as Jan said, the North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium consists of Marin, Mendocino, Napa, and Sonoma, and we are a collaboration of counties working to close the digital divide in our region. Our management team consists of county staff appointed to the consortium by each respective county, and we're also led by an oversight committee that consists of supervisors from the respective board of supervisors from our counties. So that's Supervisor Cottrell here in Napa. Our chair is Supervisor Radoni in Marin, in Mendocino, Supervisor Williams, and Supervisor Corsi in Sonoma. So the work that we do as a consortium can really be thought of as breaking down into two main parts. The first being working towards infrastructure and deployment. And so this is addressing issues of broadband access for those people that actually do not have broadband service at their location. And this can be because of physical and geographical difficulties that we experience across all of our 4 counties. There are, hills and rugged coastlines and dense forests and all of the things that make it hard to deploy broadband to all corners of our counties. And so it is a main focus for us to facilitate projects that reach those homes, to not let anyone get left offline. And that goes to what Supervisor Cottrell and what Jan were talking about with partnering with ISPs and looking out for grant application opportunities where we can get funding to serve those areas. So for example, last year, all of our 4 counties supported various partnerships in applying for federal funding account grant applications, and the applications that went in for our 4 counties that were supported by our respective counties and the consortium totaled almost $100 million. So we're always looking out for those opportunities. The next is that access and equity issue. So there are also a lot of people that might have broadband availability at their location, but can't access it for one reason or another. That may be that it's too expensive, or they don't have the devices they need to get online. Maybe they don't have the digital skills training to utilize those to access all of the things that we know we need the internet to do, like school and work and telehealth, and the list goes on forever. So this is a major priority for us, and one that will only become more important as we accomplish the prior goal of getting people access to the internet out in all 4 corners of our counties, and then they will need these skills to access. So this is something that we continue to look forward to, and I should say that there are a lot of grant opportunities coming up that we are looking into, and I'm not going to get into the specifics because I think other people will later in these presentations, but this is a priority for our group. So to take a step back and give you a little bit of background about what regional broadband consortia are, it is not a unique concept to our region. Actually, most of California is covered by a regional broadband consortia. So in 2010, Governor Schwarzenegger signed Senate Bill 1040 establishing California Advanced Services Fund Consortia Grant Account. And excuse the alphabet soup, that is an issue with broadband. But this grant account provides funding to urban and rural regional broadband consortia to facilitate broadband deployment and advance broadband adoption in unserved and underserved areas. So you can see on the map that most of the state is covered by a regional broadband consortia. I think there are 14 active right now. And those regional broadband consortia work very collaboratively with each other. We work with the state organizations, including the California Public Utilities Commission and the California Emerging Technology Fund, who you will hear from later. And we also work really closely with our counties, our cities, our community partners, including libraries and nonprofits, and engaging people that need to be at the table for digital equity discussions. So we, as a consortium, have an active grant from the California Public Utilities Commission to help us meet the goal of broadband deployment in our counties. And there are 3 main components to this work plan that was just recently approved. So what we're going to be focusing on through this grant through 2026 is 1, really building our community outreach and engagement. We're going to be revamping our website, doing quarterly outreach, quarterly website maintenance, conducting annual meetings, much like this one, and looking for feedback from the public. And there is some specific mapping feedback, and I'm going to get into that on the next slide. The next thing is collaborating with internet service providers on infrastructure projects. So just as Jan was saying, this is built into our grant with the CPUC, and we will be looking to select priority areas to partner with projects on and create and assist in applying for grant funding through the California Public Utility Commission's infrastructure grant account. That's under the same umbrella as the consortia account that we're funded through, but it's an account that's specifically for infrastructure deployment. So we will be preparing to submit applications in partnerships with ISPs. The last is for an exciting project that we're about to kick off, which is a regional fixed wireless analysis. So as I said, there are geographic and just physical issues to broadband deployment across all of our 4 counties, and it is expensive. And we know that there are communities that are going to be so hard to reach with fiber and wireline deployment. So we want to spend some time identifying those communities and figuring out what areas are best suited for a fixed wireless solution. And then that will roll back into number 2, which is taking those areas and applying for funding to serve them. So as I said, there is an opportunity to submit feedback to the California Interactive Broadband Map. So what this map does is actually determine eligibility for locations for that infrastructure grant account that I said we will be gearing applications towards. So every household in California is on this map, and if you look up your address, it will tell you whether it is marked as served, unserved, or underserved, and you can submit feedback right through the map. So it's important that we have this updated in our region so that we can actually apply to serve all the locations that need the service. I think these slides will probably be available, and the link is right there. This is something that we'll do outreach about more in the future too, but it's also just broadbandmap.ca.gov. I also want to talk a little bit about our digital equity work and our partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I don't want to steal Sunny's thunder, and she is going to get really into the details about all of the wonderful work that CETF does. But I just want to say that CETF really supports regional broadband consortia to engage in digital equity issues collaboratively across the state. So we received a grant from CETF last year that ran through the beginning of 2024 to be a leader in the digital equity space as a regional broadband consortia. And that included tackling issues in these 5 areas, which is support deployment, assist local governments, advance adoption, facilitate project and permit streamlining, and work collaboratively. And I could talk about all 5 of these for much more than my 10 minutes, but I've already said some stuff about what we do for deployment and advanced adoption, but through this grant, we were able to really engage with our cities and try to loop them into the work that we were doing. Back in 2023, we facilitated a meeting, a regional meeting for broadband planning in Santa Rosa, that the results of which informed the statewide digital equity plan, which is a really exciting steps towards informing use of state funding on all these grant accounts that we're talking about. And also working collaboratively is key to regional consortia function and to this grant. Through this grant, we are part of a learning community that includes consortia from across the entire state, which is a really valuable space for us to learn from what others are doing all across California and move forward more quickly and more effectively on digital equity issues. The last thing that I want to touch on is that Also, as a consortium, we are always looking to support broadband policy and legislation. Our Oversight Committee just recently adopted a new legislative platform that outlines our priorities in terms of supporting policy and legislation, and I'm just going to read a few of the highlights. So, support and advocate for affordable and reliable broadband services across the region. Support regional and state collaboration for broadband infrastructure planning and deployment. Encourage legislative action to further develop grants and funding for broadband access and digital equity. Support regional and statewide collaborations for broadband infrastructure planning and deployment, and support efforts for accurate and robust mapping of internet infrastructure for improved decision-making and increased digital equity. And this is just maybe a third of them, but gives you an idea of what we are looking to achieve. Again, I could talk forever about all of the things that we're doing as a consortium. There are a lot of grants out there that we're going to touch on today, but this is a snapshot. And as I said, we are about to revamp our website, do more outreach. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be, sending out calls to action, looking for feedback. And yeah, so thank you all for being here. And I think it's time for me to take some questions.
Any questions? So I can come to you.
I actually have a question. So thank you, Kate, so much, and appreciate your partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund. Actually, starting the consortia was the first thing we did, and then we got the state to start paying for it. As you know, we think you should be paid at least $1.5 million over the next 3 years. That is literally the position of CETF. Would that be helpful, and do you need any more, or what would you be able to do if we could get to that amount of money?
Sunny, we will take whatever we can get. And, the funding that we get through the CPUC is really helpful to allow us the capacity to engage. And we are lucky to have a consortium that is built of the 4 county governments already. That's really helpful because a lot of what you need to do as a consortium is engage your governments, and we're engaged, right? So we have all 4 counties. And so, the more that I think the state can invest in the regional broadband consortia to build capacity, and, if it would be wonderful if every consortia across the state had the resources they need to work on all of these projects. It is amazing everything that's happening in the broadband space. It's, unprecedented investment in broadband infrastructure and digital equity. And so I think the consortia are a really valuable vehicle to build up to be able to manage all of this investment and collaborate across the state.
Anybody else? Anybody online? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I'm here to introduce our next speaker, who is well known throughout California, and considering her energetic personality, is probably well known throughout the world as well. I lived many years in Concord, and I remember Sunny Wright McPeak as a member of the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors, where she served more than 15 years. Since then, she served in many leadership roles, including as a member of the Governor's Cabinet, as the Secretary of the California Business, Transportation, and Housing Agency, the largest of the state agencies. She's now president and CEO of the California Emerging Technologies Fund, a nonprofit dedicated to closing the digital divide, where she's developed and launched initiatives, advocated for legislation, and secured massive amounts of funding to promote digital equity and digital literacy. She's always been a tireless advocate for everyday people, and we're grateful to have her here this afternoon. So without further ado, please help me welcome Sunny McPeak to our podium.
Thank you very much. And I just use that to advance. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Rivas, for such a lovely introduction. It's a pleasure to be here, and I always like meeting a former boss because that's how I viewed it. Mark was one of the people who lived in my district, so he was a boss. And for me to be back in county land is always such a pleasure. It's tough duty coming to Napa County. But we can tolerate it. My husband and I often are here uptown for various, entertainment, and as I say, the agricultural products of Napa County to support the economy. And so just to move on, I want to commend the Board of Supervisors. So Chair Gallagher and Vice Chair Cottrell, because you also serve on RCRC, I think, as the rep for Napa County. And you, Jan, and Mark, and the entire team for pulling everybody together, because when you're in the room talking to each other, magic happens. And so now you have the plan, and now you're going to move on for implementation. So you have a little bit of background about the California Emerging Technology Fund, not only from Mark, but also from Kate. We appreciate it. And we love working with local leaders. While we are a statewide organization, it is not possible to capture all of the innovation, all the energy, all of the insights that can happen locally. But local leadership also has to work with neighbors in order to have the full power, the full impact, and then you work statewide. So I think I want to just revisit a little bit of history so you know this strange animal I call the structure of the California Emerging Technology Fund unusual. Strange in the sense it's unique in the nation. There is no other state that has such an entity, a not-for-profit, that was directed to be established by the California Public Utilities Commission out of corporate mergers in 2005. Dawn is here representing AT&T. In that year, SBC bought AT&T. They kept the name AT&T, and Verizon bought MCI. The Public Utilities Commission negotiated with those two companies and said we need a not-for-profit to focus on closing the digital divide. And then subsequently, laws were passed such that we, although a nonprofit, we report to the legislature every year through the CPUC. And by another statute, we are the only non-state agency on the California Broadband Council. So we have this unusual role in between public and private in the public interest. So just to sort of share with you what we consider to be definitions. When we talk about the digital divide, that's the challenge. You know the challenge. When we talk about digital inclusion, that's the process. You're in the process of including everybody. When we talk about digital equity, that's the result, so CPR. And those terms are different, although they're used often together. We also talk about, as you heard from Kate, as you heard from your supervisors, these two dual challenges of deployment and adoption. So deployment being the infrastructure, we're in absolute support of ubiquitous deployment. We need infrastructure everywhere, not only for communications, but for public safety, for response to emergencies, for economic development, for quality of life. And then on the adoption side, we're for what we call universal adoption. Everybody needs to have the opportunity to get online. And when we survey people in California, less than 1% say they don't want to be online. Most of them happen to be 75 or older. And when they understand that being online means they have access to health care and can stay in their home a little bit longer, they want to be online too. So it's hard to find someone who doesn't want to be online. Someone to be offline sometimes, but they always want the access. So then moving on, I have just a little bit of history that you can look at, but over the 16 years, we've actually worked with a network of community-based organizations, public agencies, networks of our regional consortia, and to collectively gotten more than 1 million households online with an affordable offer and more than 1 million people trained in digital literacy. So there is a body of experience among all of the partners that inform what we can do in the future. As you heard my question to Kate, we started with forming the regional consortia. First rural, then urban, because one organization cannot do the job we were given, which is go close the digital divide. We have programs, Barber-Nimco County superintendent of education here in Napa, for example, helped us with our school-to-home program, as do county superintendents throughout the state. And when we look at the need to support your local leadership, we like to do that through the regional consortia. So we have also contributed a little bit of money, as you heard from Kate. Napa County I just sent you $1,000. I hope you found it and you got it deposited. You did, Jan. And another 20 is on its way because of the best practices checklist. And I do want Joelle and Ann to stick around because I have another announcement at the end of this presentation. Okay, so that's intriguing. We also sent 20 computers here for 2 ACP enrollment events. So little by little, we have, try to chip in to help on supporting your leadership. We also find that while we can work statewide, we have to work across the nation. So we actually work at a national level, have good communications, relationships with the Federal Communication Commission. We work with the National Association of Counties, other parties, including Pew Charitable Trust, which is one of the most respected of those nonprofit foundations that focus on closing the digital divide. And so we are very, very pleased that Catherine DeWitt would say such nice things about our work. We also, now I'm going to focus on adoption, and I like the 3 A's you have in your strategic action plan. It might not exactly what I'm going to say fit exactly what's in your plan, but it's going to be almost the same thing. So there are basically 3 barriers to adoption. Nobody is going to get online without overcoming all 3. So the first is cost. You have to be able to afford not only the connection, the service, but a device. Until we can put our finger in the air or in a socket to get the signal, I guess Google's probably working on that, we still need to have a device to connect to the internet. We won't do that if we don't know why it means that it'll make a difference in our lives. So the relevance issue when we're working with households to say, how will it actually save you time and money, which is why outreach by trusted messengers in language, in culture is essential. And then none of us are going to do that if we don't know how to use stuff, right? We have to be able to use a device and navigate the internet. So those are the 3 really basic barriers that in getting to adoption have to be overcome. They have to be built into a solution. And that is why, in one way or another, the work your library does, the work that is done by other community organizations, by schools, to explain all that is essential. Now, I want to share some numbers with you because I'm really excited about what can be done here in Napa County. It's quite manageable. We work a lot with all other 57 counties, including Los Angeles, that's 10 million people. And this is really very manageable in our county of Napa. So 91% of the households statewide are connected. Of the 91%, 3% are what we call underconnected. They have a smartphone only. Now, a mobile phone, a smartphone is a marvelous device, but it is not sufficient for some uses, and particularly if you're a family with kids in school, you need to have a device that actually mimics or replicates what kids use in schools to learn. We actually do some of the best sampling in the nation, and so statistically you can take all of the data from the 2023 statewide survey, and we've actually looked at, because we've done oversampling in rural counties, you can just apply it to your population, pretty much do an estimate of how many households do you need? North Bay, North Coast is doing better than the rest of the state. So this is good news. You've got 93% of everybody connected and only 2% underconnected. And you can see then 7.3% unconnected. In Napa County, that means you've got about 3,500 households just not connected at all. That's a manageable number. What is common among all the population groups not connected is poverty. There is an extraordinary concentration of poverty, and that becomes really important, especially for counties doing strategies, because we are where eligibility is determined for all the other public assistance programs. Counties do the determination on Medi-Cal. We do the determination on CalFresh. Schools used to do the National School Lunch Program. We now have universal lunch. The higher education institutions know who the Pell Grant folks are. Our tribes know who tribal TANF recipients are. We need to just look at that population in order to be able to focus on who we want to reach. Statewide, you heard the reference to the Affordable Connectivity Program and talked about ACP. Yes, we'd like to see it renewed. I think it's not going to be done until after an election. And in the meantime, just think what we did in a very short period of time, less than 2 years. There were 5.8 million households eligible for ACP in California. With everybody's help, we got more than half connected, more than 2.9 million households. That is really good news. That's 1 million more households than any other state in the nation. At the same time, that meant we had 2.9 million we never got to. They include the unconnected. They also include those that we call the underconnected and the unsustainably connected. There's a whole lot of lower income households who have maybe a mobile phone with a data plan, or they move and they have service that is interrupted. So getting to the folks that really need the help, the insight is start with who is eligible for ACP and then go from there. Fortunately, here are the numbers. Kate, for the 4 counties, you had 137,000 households and enrolled 20%. Napa County, 17,000 households were eligible, and you enrolled, as Ann said, more than 3,000, 19%. There's 20% of your caseload that's Medi-Cal, CalFresh, that really are a prime target. And here are the numbers I've given you. The reason this is why you want to consider focusing on it is that we got to that 2.9 million households statewide by what we call direct notification. 2 state agencies, the Department of Healthcare Services, Department of Social Services, actually notified everybody on those programs twice. They did it in various ways. There was texting, there was emails, there was a notice that went into just a little banner on the cover letter that goes to all Medi-Cal households every year. And that is entirely possible for Napa County to do. And that's why I'm going to suggest, as you doing your checklist, as Jan and Mark know, you've got these roles as local leaders. You're a policy leader. You're here. You've done the plan. You are a planner in the sense of take that strategic plan, it goes into your general plan, so you have a footing policy-wise, legal-wise, to then regulate land use and streamline permitting so that you have the rebuttable presumption, if anybody raises an issue, that you are acting in the public interest. But you're also a purchaser. Most public agencies, particularly local governments, have departments, I know them well, and there are different contracts in each department for different internet service providers. You want to aggregate demand. You can actually talk to other public agencies, aggregate demand, be able to negotiate a public-private partnerships that works for the ISP. The ISP would love to be able to deploy private capital faster and be able to not have it wasted just sitting there. And in return, now here's when I negotiate back with my good friends in the internet service industry, is what are the public benefits we can get back if we can find that sweet spot? And then you're a service provider. So you've got the county libraries. You've got places where you deliver public health services. These are wonderful locations to interact with the public, let them know about opportunities to get online, but also to train your staff. So I'm going to conclude, because I'd never come to Napa County empty-handed. I do remember, by the way, first of all, thank you for also acknowledging Supervisor Dillon and what Diane has done over the years. I also know you don't flood as much as you used to. I do remember it was New Year's Day, 8 a.m. in the morning, and I had the assignment from the governor to call a county supervisor in Napa. It was Mr. Dodd at the time, so I called Bill, got him out of bed. He had been celebrating the night before, and said, "Do you remember all the complaints you've made to me?" I was secretary of BT&H at the time, about Napa County not being reimbursed for all of your emergency flood response costs. Well, I think the governor wants to do that now. Bill came alive, and actually by the end of that day, there was an announcement. So you did get reimbursed for all the work that you've done, and so I do like that tradition of bringing something to Napa County if I'm here. And so I want to conclude by saying, direct notification is really powerful. We have done that in Nevada County. We have done it in Riverside County. We have done it, Alameda County is about to mail 263,522. I know that number because I'm paying for every one of them. But here, for the 17,000, we can do that for 25,000. So I'm coming to offer to you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, the entire team, 25,000 if we can figure out how to do that direct notification. And with that, I thank you for your leadership and your partnership.
Thank you very much, Sunny. That was a nice little surprise there.
That's because you didn't read the end of my slides.
Oh, I like to be surprised. I don't read everyone's slides first. I'm going to go a little bit off script here and just muse a little bit about where we are in the technology life cycle of broadband. And it kind of occurs to me that we are where telephones were 100 years ago. You know, they're not everywhere. It's expensive to run all that cable. The telephone companies don't want to do it because they don't see a return on investment. So the government is in the process of doling out money to make sure it actually happens and to see to it that everybody has telephone service. And we are right there at that point right now in history with broadband. It's there, it works real well, people like it, some people don't have it that need it, it's expensive to implement, and so it's not being done at the pace we'd like to see it. So I think we just need to continue to press on, and with Sunny's help and with the help of our supervisors and members of the community that we're reaching out to today, that we will actually make that happen, and pretty soon we will have universal service, just like we do for telephones. So with that, I'll go back on script and start my, my planned presentation. So thanks for entertaining me there. So I'm Mark Revis. I'm Napa County's Broadband Project Manager. I'm fairly new on the job. I've been here 6 months, since February. I came from the wireless world. I mostly did public safety wireless, but my career includes installing cell sites and fiber. So I feel like I have at least a little bit of qualification for the job, and I had to bribe Jan to hire me, but thank you, Jan. You did it anyway. So anyway, this segment is about the state of California's Middle Mile Network Initiative. And that's a very important initiative. Middle Mile itself is a link between the fiber or the cable or the wireless link that feeds internet to your home and the big data hubs that comprise the broader internet. So it's that in-between piece. So the state's purpose in building this network is a couple of things. One, it's going to reduce costs for ISPs that take advantage of it, because building the internet is very expensive. Running fiber, if you're putting it underground, we're talking $500,000 to $750,000 per mile. It's horrendously expensive. So the state network will reduce those costs to ISPs. It'll help them to expand networks to rural areas. It'll reduce prices for customers, and it especially benefits smaller ISPs, and we have one of those here today, Friends Valley Internet, who we've dealt with many times and are continuing to partner with. The larger ones, AT&T and Comcast, typically build their own middle mile, but it's hopeful that they will be able to take advantage of it as well, but we'll see. This new network will be open access, so anyone who needs the capacity can lease it. It's also very high capacity. Many ISPs can connect to it without any congestion or slowing speeds, and it's currently under construction in many parts of the state. So little bad news comes along with that, unfortunately. Originally, the California plan called for 10,000 miles of new fiber optic cable. Unfortunately, with the state's budget shortfall that has recently occurred, they've cut that down to 8,000 miles. And the money for the remaining 2,000 miles is kind of in limbo. We don't know if it's ever going to come back. It may or it may not, so we'll find out in the future. But in the meantime, it's had a negative impact to Napa County. And if you look at the map that's on your screen, on the left-hand side, the map on the left, the multicolored lines, that indicates the route for the fiber. And you can see there's a lot of fiber running up the middle of the Napa Valley from the southern to the northern county borders, and there's another segment that runs off into rural eastern Napa County up to Muscowite Corner, just south of Lake Berryessa. And that would have been very helpful for our plans to connect rural Napa County, but the 2,000 miles that was removed contained most of what was going to be built here in Napa County. So that's been a bit of a blow. Not so much to the current round of grant funding. And what has happened is the state, and I kind of agree with them, I can't really fight them on this, is that they chose the segments to be eliminated based on whether or not an applicant had promised to, or applicant for grant funding, had promised to use that segment. And in our county, the only two that applied for the current round of grant funding are Comcast and AT&T. As I said earlier, they generally use their own middle mile and didn't need this. So it got taken away. But that does handicap us for future deployment plans and future grant applications. So that's it for a brief update on the California Middle Mile. Anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Hi there, I'm Larry Black. I'm the network manager for Calistoga Joint Unified School District. I do have a question in terms of how the fiber that's being deployed. My understanding is that basically there will be nodes that ISPs will be able to access, and who would they be leasing that from exactly?
Well, the nodes that you're talking about, basically there's a access point where you can attach your fiber to the state's fiber, I think every 2,500 feet. So there'll be a vault or someplace where you can run your fiber directly to every 2,500 feet. So let's say you were wanting to use that fiber to connect wherever you needed to connect to you know, Verizon's data hub, let's say, just for an example. You would run that fiber to one of those access points every 2,500 feet up the state's middle mile, and then you would be responsible for running whatever fiber to your location or locations from that point.
Got it, understood. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll move ahead to some of the broadband activities that Napa County is doing on its own. And starting that off will be Anthony Halstead, who's the Director of Library Services and Community Outreach for Napa County. Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah. Thanks very much, everyone. So probably since the first computer got rolled into a library, we have assisted the public in using technology, right? So one of our mission here at the Napa County Library is to enrich lives with books and information. And more that means assisting people with technology, whether that's people who are coming into our building. Oh, my little thingy isn't working. Yes, okay. So whether that's people coming into our building or more formalized things that we offer at our library. And we have people coming in every day because, as you might know, in your own world, you pretty much can't apply for a job or apply for any kind of program without filling out a form online. And we have a lot of people that come in because they simply don't have access anywhere else, or they don't know how to use technology at all. We have people that come in regularly that don't know how to use a mouse, right? And they don't have an email account. They don't have an idea how browsers work. And so we have walk-in traffic, people coming in. We assist them as much as we can on the fly, again, filling out forms, applications, et cetera. We also have people at our libraries, and you can call and reserve time. So if you have a device or you have a phone, a tablet, a computer, people bring in their laptops, and we'll reserve time and work directly with you one-on-one. We don't get into the weeds, right? We're not going to help people with how to edit Adobe files or do anything of really much complexity, but that's not what most people are coming for. They're coming because they have a straightforward problem or a basic need that they can't overcome on their own. And so we assist them, we sit down with them. I've actually done it myself. I worked in Calistoga one day and the person that was scheduled to work was away. And so people just showed up at the appropriate time and we walked through their problems. It was really interesting for me. It's actually kind of beneficial for the library too, because you see what people are trying to do and what their struggles are. And you can sort of turn that into maybe what services you might want to offer to meet them. So we do one-on-one walk-in, we do one-on-one reserved, and then we also have technology in our buildings, right? So for 20 plus years, we've had computers available for people to walk in. And for the last 15 plus years, we've had Wi-Fi for people that bring their own devices. Certainly during COVID, we did our best to make it available to people. We actually moved our little nodes to the edges of our buildings so that people could gain the most access possible when we weren't open to the public. And you could come even when we were not open, and people would be parked in the parking lot and using our Wi-Fi. In fact, it wasn't uncommon to see police and sheriff's officers in the parking lot too because they could connect to the internet there. This was a few years ago, but it was very common. So we provide that. And then the last thing is, as was mentioned earlier, we provide direct laptops and hotspots. Most of those were purchased from FCC grants that we received, but we'd started the hotspot program on our own before that. We've had those for about 5 or so years now. And we then make those available to people. Our items will float to wherever people need them. So if you put a hold on something in Napa and it's available in Calistoga, it will come down to Napa. We do that in reverse if we are aware of something. For instance, as was mentioned before, PSPS events. If we are, if we know that that's going to happen in advance, any hotspot devices that we have, we actually route up to Calistoga so that they will be available when people start to place holds on them because we know that that happens. And then for both of those, they've wound down a little bit as attrition has come, and we haven't necessarily kept them at the same levels as FCC. We have about 150 hotspots right now, and it's a little bit more than one person on hold per item. What people find, though, is if they need it on an ongoing basis, they'll check one out, they'll place a hold. By the time there's this due, the hold's available, they check it out again. So they're working the system, but hey, that's how it works. And then for laptops, after COVID, we haven't seen the need because schools are providing them directly and other people gained access. The costs have really gone down for a lot of those too. So the Chromebooks, which is what we have, they're a couple of $100. As was mentioned during ACP, people got that for signing up, as well as people that signed up not only got the 20 that were offered by the CETF, but they got a voucher for a discounted laptop as well during that time. So a lot of people took advantage of it. Okay. The one thing, though, that we do beyond just the walk-in traffic is we have ongoing classes that we offer direct to people. These are structured classes like you might think, and they are basic introduction. And this is because we have contracted with Napa Valley Adult Education. They teach those classes in the Napa Library, English and Spanish, and just like when people come into our building in person, walk in, we're covering the basics, right? They're people that don't have a lot of experience on their own, so basic computer skills, browsing the internet, how to open up a browser, create an email account, to create a Word account or maybe Google Docs, something like that, but it's pretty straightforward, and it takes people to a point, I think, where they're more comfortable using technology. I'm sure everyone in this room has maybe looked at YouTube to learn how to do something really specific, but a lot of learning a piece of software is just going in and getting comfortable with the technology and using it to learn as you go. So We've done that for a couple of years now, and our next session starts in the fall, so 3 or 4 weeks from now. I don't remember the exact start date, but not too long from now. And we're really appreciative to have the partnership like Napa Valley Adult Education to offer that kind of service. It's not teaching classes, it's not an expertise that we have, but we partner, like so many of us do, and why we're here today, with other organizations that have that expertise. So. And again, going back to ACP, we partner not only with outside agencies, but also within the county. We partnered with Health and Human Services, their self-sufficiency division, to offer ACP signups in all of our locations. There were a number of benefits to that. One of them is that we have 4, so we could offer it up valley in a space. And then we partnered with them because the fastest way to get signed up was to be participating in a government program already. We actually texted people that were part of these programs directly before these events. We targeted that outreach and said, hey, come on these days and we will sign you up. And what was nice to have, why it was nice to have self-sufficiency there is because the people didn't need to come in with any information. They didn't need to bring their tax returns. They didn't need to bring any additional documentation. If they were already getting CalFresh, for instance, these folks could log into their accounts, get the necessary credentials, sign them up for the service, and they left knowing that that had been completed from start to finish. Rather than a lot of times you sign up for something, maybe you submit something, maybe you don't have your Social Security, maybe you don't have your tax returns, and you have to leave maybe halfway through, right? When they came and they left, they knew that they'd signed up. And so we were really appreciative of Health and Human Service for assisting us in that. And we did that at least 2 times in each of our locations and maybe once or twice additionally in those. That doesn't mean that staff weren't also assisting. People could walk in anytime. We trained our staff so that if folks came in, maybe they missed the class, maybe they couldn't come that day, maybe they didn't know about it, they could also assist them. We didn't have access to CalFresh or those other things, but we still knew the basics and could get them up and running as best as we could in our buildings. So we're appreciative for that. And then going back to the hotspots, so we have a collection called Library of Things. It's a bunch of stuff that's sort of non-traditional library services, like puzzles and games and binoculars and telescopes, and hotspots and Chromebooks. And so on our website, we have Library of Things, and in our catalog, you can go and search for those. The 2 specific products we have, the Orbic and the Lenovo, people can go to our catalog, they find the items or click through from that earlier page, they place a hold, and then when it's available, they get it as a text, as a phone call, email, however they want to get notice. And that works really well. Again, we've had the hotspots for more than 5 years now, and it works really well and meets people and provides a service that they just may not have access to otherwise. Or for some people, they're going on vacation, they're going to be leaving, they have a temporary need. It meets that as well. So we're happy to be able to offer that. The final thing that I'll mention in brief is that we are looking at ways to expand our Wi-Fi connectivity beyond our walls. So we have, thanks to Scenic, which is also the organization that's doing the middle mile across the state of California, we have Scenic in all of our libraries in 1 gigabit speed. And when we were closed for COVID, we moved all those to the walls, the edges, and it just seems logical. How far could you take that? How far could you take the connectivity you already have and make it available in the community? So we've met with a couple of companies that do municipal build-out in San Francisco and in San Jose, and we're looking at ways that we might be able to leverage our buildings as well as other government buildings in the different towns to take the Wi-Fi, the Napa County Library Wi-Fi, and have it be as broad as we could have it in those communities so that people that were visiting, people that lived there, and people that may not have access elsewhere could gain access using, again, a connectivity that we're already paying for and that we're already providing. So we're in the early stages of this, but I'll be frank and say I was very surprised at the cost. It's not as substantial as I might have estimated. And more importantly, not only is the capital upfront cost relatively reasonable, the ongoing expenses. That's one of the challenges that we often have with government funding is you get a pool of money, you build something, and you can't easily sustain it because the cost for upkeep is so high. We haven't seen that. The cost proposal that we have in front of us now that we're looking at, and we'll continue to get them as we consider our options, is very manageable. So that's heartening for me, and I think it's a realistic project, and we'll be looking at it moving forward, either for funding for grant opportunities or other ways to make this available in our community. And that's it for me.
Questions for Anthony?
Good, because I forgot to start my timer, so I have no idea if I stayed within my allotted.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yep. I'll leave it right there.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. I just realized we neglected something very important. We forgot to tell people who are watching over Zoom how to ask questions. And it's very simple. You'll see in the lower part of your screen, if you scroll your mouse down there, a chat button will come up. Just click that and you can type your question into the chat. And I was reminded of that by receiving a question that was pertaining to my last talk about the middle mile. And the question is, does the elimination of funding for Napa Middle Mile mean that Comcast and AT&T will remain the only broadband providers in Napa for the foreseeable future? And conversely, if that funding is restored, would we presumably see more competition? The question is, no, it doesn't necessarily mean that Comcast and AT&T will remain the only broadband providers. There's actually more than just them right now. We have one of them here today to talk with us in a few minutes. That's Valley Internet, but there's also NapaNet, Sonic, and a couple of others. I will say this, though, that without that middle mile, it is going to make it more difficult for others to build out their own networks. That middle mile would have made a much less expensive alternative for getting the signal out there to the rural areas of the county. But we are hoping that funding will be restored. But it's not the end of the world. We have a lot of other plans, other alternatives, and of course, AT&T and Comcast both have big networks that we're hoping that they will expand out to those areas as well. So we'll see what happens with that. So, sorry about that. Didn't mean to make that much noise. So what else is going on in Napa County? And there is quite a bit. So it's a historic time for broadband grant funding, thanks to Congress and the Biden administration. We have the American Rescue Plan Act, which was passed during COVID-19, and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was passed a little later than that. But that's basically the infrastructure bill that everybody was talking about so much a couple of years ago. Well, that money is now becoming available, and it's flowing down to us through the state, or at least much of it is, through the California Public Utilities Commission and the California Division of Technology. There are too many of them really to keep track of. I guess somebody can, but I certainly can't. There's a lot of acronyms, alphabet soup as Kate called it, and you'll see as I continue my presentation, because I am the poor fool that somebody once said has to do this, so I'm going to go through all these grants and let everybody know what they are and about how much they are, and give you an idea of what we might be looking at to do with them. Sorry. So the first of the broadband deployment grant programs would be the CPUC's Federal Funding Account Grant Program, in which there is $10.7 million earmarked for projects within Napa County. And the county partnered with Comcast to do an application for one of the areas that the county defined as high priority, which is an area around Rutherford. And AT&T also submitted applications for several areas within the county. Right now, we are holding on with bated breath to see who gets that grant, because they've said, yes, we're in the process of making announcements, but they like make an announcement once a month, so it's just taking forever. We have not heard about Napa yet. Marin and Mendocino have been announced, and the county of Marin is going to get $11 million for a project to extend broadband up the Coast Highway. And Comcast also received a little bit for a smaller project in Marin. And then in Mendocino, the Round Valley Indian tribes and the cities of Fort Bragg and Ukiah also received grants. So it's being put out there. We're holding on for Napa. Hopefully it'll happen soon, and we can get that project underway. And we've been in conversation with our Public Works and our Planning and Building and Environmental Services departments to kind of get prepared for that, because we're hoping to see a flurry of construction activity here in the next few months. I've got to keep up with my slides here. So the next grant program would be the CPUC's Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program, which is also known as the BEAD program. That is $1.86 billion. That's to be distributed statewide, and there is no earmark for counties like there was for the federal funding account grants. So we're not guaranteed to get any money, but we're hoping that we can put together some strong proposals in partnership with our local ISPs and get some of that money for Napa County. So there is a process that they just recently went through that is designed to vet the data that the CPUC is going to use to make decisions about who gets funding. And it was called the BEAD challenge process. So we participated in that to the extent we could. The CPUC provided a consumer challenge portal, which anybody could have used to look at their address, see if it was marked as served or unserved, and if it was wrong, they had the opportunity to challenge it. Fortunately, kind of hard to use. We did some outreach on that, but we really didn't get any challenges through that portal. That didn't stop us, though, because we had other things to do. We looked at the data ourselves, and we found 33 locations that had inaccurate data that showed it was served when it was really not. All those were in rural areas, and you can see if you look at the map on your screen, there's some green dots there. That's most of the ones that we challenged. So we're hoping, since they're in low-density areas, low-population areas, that 33 will make a difference in our eligibility for some of that money. And I want to thank Comcast, because they were very helpful to us in identifying those locations and making that challenge. The submission window for that grant hasn't been announced yet, but it's expected to start later this year or next year. They have to finish up this challenge process, which allows the internet providers to rebut any challenges they don't feel are correct. So that's ongoing and will continue on for another month or two. So we expect to hear the announcement of awards probably sometime like this time next year. So I'm still not keeping up with my slides. My apologies. So the next grant was the CPUC's Local Agency Technical Assistance Grant, and Napa County received a $500,000 award for planning new deployment projects. So we engaged Valley Internet to do some designs for us, and we identified 19 priority areas within Napa County, and they did low-level designs down to, you know, how many tie wraps they need to wrap the cable, to hold the cable in place, and how many concrete vaults they need, and that sort of thing, very detailed. And one of the things that came out of it was, wow, fiber deployment is extremely expensive. So what you see on your screen there is a portion of the plan for Berryessa Estates area, which is in northeastern Napa County, in the northern end of Lake Berryessa. And about 200 homes would be connected under that plan. The cost estimate is $6.5 million just to cover that small area. So you can see it's really expensive. To do all 19 priority areas, we're estimating anywhere from $100 million to $135 million, and that, of course, is doing it the right way, which would be putting all the fiber underground so it's protected from wildfires and such, and also backup power and that sort of thing. So when the chips are down, the design is supposed to be resilient and robust, and hopefully will not go down under those circumstances. But what that points out is it's tough for the internet service providers to make a buck out there in the rural area. Low population density pretty much equates to a low rate of return for the ISP. So that is why we need, and again, as I mentioned, kind of we're in the era that we were 100 years ago with telephones and copper wire. You need government to step in and say, it's important to the health of this country for everybody to have this access, and we are going to fund the deployment of this so that the ISPs can make money and serve you properly. So that's my soapbox for today. So we intend to make those designs that Valley Internet did for us available to any ISP that wants to partner with us, and we're already talking with Valley Internet about doing another partnership, and Comcast also. So we hope to get some good applications for BEAD and also some of the other grants that are out there, including the some more CPUC stuff that I'm going to talk about here in just a second. And we're going to put those designs on our website for anybody to look at in about a month, or sometime next month anyway, and look for them on our website, which is www.countyofnapa.org/broadband. So more California CPUC grant programs, which in this case is the California Advanced Services Fund, or CASF, or CASF as we call it. Again, more alphabet soup, and I apologize, but that's the world we live in here. The CASF funding is supposed to be $150 million per year until 2032 for broadband deployment. I don't know If it was reduced this year because of the budget shortfall, it was not. Okay, good. Thank you. But that's, that's a pretty hefty chunk, and it's available in several accounts. The broadband infrastructure account, which is available to ISPs and local governments to use to actually put fiber out there, not just fiber, but also wireless if that's the appropriate technology. There's also the public housing account, which is available for owners and operators of low-income housing or housing for disadvantaged people. That's the account we're going to tap or attempt to tap to help our farm worker centers out. There's also a line extension pilot program, which allows people, qualifying people on the lower end of the income spectrum, to be able to run a fiber line from the street to get to their home. I mean, you may have a fiber line running right down your street, but you're a half a mile off the road and you can't afford to put that fiber to your house in. Well, that's what this grant program is for. And then, of course, there's the consortia account, which Kate Fosberg talked about, where that's funding our local consortia and also the consortia all across the state. And again, here we go with my slides. Other potential sources that I have not really looked into, and to be honest, there is so much to read, and I've only been here 6 months. I really haven't read everything and explored every program that is out there, but there's also the USDA. They have a program called Reconnect, which is to fund broadband in rural areas. So I definitely want to look into that and see if there's anything we can do with that as well. So then the next facet, which is the digital equity grant programs. And the digital equity grant programs are to serve underserved populations like the elderly, the physically challenged, low income and non-English speakers and others. And that's to help them get online and to understand how to use the internet, to do it affordably, and many other benefits. So right now there's a CPUC grant program called the Digital Equity Capacity Grant. It's part of the state's digital equity plan. $70 million across California without any earmarks for counties. Applications will be accepted this year. Next year, there will be another $25 million. So there's a couple of bites at the apple that can be taken, and that's administered by the California Division of Technology. Then the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, which is a department of the Department of Commerce, has the Digital Equity Competitive Grant, which is $750 million across the nation. Applications are being accepted now until the end of September. So we're exploring a partnership with our colleagues at the North Bay North Coast Broadband Consortium and also Solano County to apply for this grant, and they're expecting to hand out $5 million to $12 million per entity for each award. So there's a lot that can be done with that, and we've got big plans. And then there's another $500 million coming next year for that same grant. So closer to home are projects that we're working on. We talked a little bit about the Farm Worker Centers access. So there are 3 farm worker centers in Napa County. Each one of those holds 60 residents, so that's 180 residents total. And the centers have very poor internet access. So the farm workers are an essential part of the county's agricultural economy. They're essential for picking the vines, picking the olives, everything that we grow here in Napa County and make so much money on, $5 billion each year. And if those farm workers weren't there, or if they weren't as skilled as they are, it would be a lot less money. So everybody is very happy to have them, and we'd like to see to it that they're well taken care of. So the residents of those centers are low income. Many don't speak English. And a recent report, and you can see the cover sheet there on your screen, a recent report by our Housing and Homeless Services Department indicated that there are many, many benefits that would be forthcoming if we could get good internet access out to those farm worker centers. Education, healthcare, finding out about housing opportunities and transportation, many things that are needs that were expressed to our housing department in this survey. So we're hoping to tap the CASF public housing account funds to do last mile connectivity and Wi-Fi infrastructure in the buildings, and then a portion of the digital equity grant that we're looking to partner with Solano County and the North Bay North Coast Consortium to do devices and digital literacy training. And then, of course, Anthony mentioned a possible extension of the library's Wi-Fi into the surrounding community, and we're working with him on getting that done as well. So that's not a foregone conclusion just yet, but we are working on it. So the next thing that hasn't really gotten a lot of attention yet, but I think it's important, and I'm going to mention it here. 205,000 more workers in the broadband field are going to be needed to construct, test, and maintain all this new infrastructure that is being that will be installed with this new grant money. So broadband equals good paying jobs, and funding is being made available for workforce training programs. California legislature just passed AB 171, which provides funding through the the Employment Development Department for workforce training of many kinds, including broadband. And then I just discovered a program through the NTIA. It's a pilot program, but it's called the Connecting Minority Communities program, and it provides apprenticeship for broadband workers. And that's going on right now in Newark, New Jersey, and other places. So I'm looking into those, and if those look like they'll be fruitful, then we will be spending some time on that as well. So, bottom line, we're looking for all of you who are here watching and listening to help us shape Napa County's digital future. We are looking for partners. We'd like people out there in the community organizations that serve some of these disadvantaged, low-income, elderly, other challenged communities to partner with us, and I hope that you will get in contact with me after this meeting and let's talk. So thank you. So next, we have Jason Bernard, who is the IT administrator of the city of Yountville, who has some
Mark,
IT plans.
we have a question.
Oh,
back here,
pardon me.
just real quick.
Thank you for sharing all of that information. My name is Jenny O'Cone. I'm the executive director of the Up Valley Family Centers. We're a nonprofit community-based organization that deals with digital equity and digital literacy challenges among many of the community members that we serve. And we know many other community-based organizations are also facing the same thing in the work that they do every day, helping connect people to vital resources, whether it's health insurance or CalFresh or all of those things that we also partner with the county on. And I was just curious to learn a little bit more about the digital equity grants. And you mentioned collaborations with Solano County, and you mentioned collaborations. I'm just wondering to what extent you're looking at community-based organizations who have kind of trusted messengers within our organizations to be able to reach these, folks as well.
Well, I think you are key to that whole plan, honestly. I've only been here 6 months. This position of mine wasn't filled for at least 2 years. Otherwise, we would have been farther along in all this. But yes, this is our really first attempt to reach out to you and others like you so that we can get together with you, put together plans, apply for grants, and see if we can't get some of this money flowing here into Napa County and our surrounding neighboring counties to address some of these situations. So yes, I will be in contact with you. Okay, so now Jason Bernard, who's the IT administrator of the city of Yountville. Thanks very much.
My name is Jason Bernard, and I'm the Information Systems Administrator for the town of Yountville. During the heart of the pandemic, the leadership group at the town of Yountville determined that broadband access was an area of need to help alleviate the ever-increasing feelings of isolation that its population was going through. The town of Yountville is a majority population of 55 and older, and as we know, that demographic is traditionally struggles with some technology issues. So To help determine how to best serve its population, the town applied for and received a LOTA grant, or a local agency technical assistance grant. And we received it, and through that grant, we contracted with CBG Communications to perform a broadband feasibility study to help determine how we could increase broadband access to our citizens. During the discovery and walkout phases of our feasibility study, we determined that actually in Yountville, we are considered a served community. All of the addresses inside of Yountville are on the served list for the CPUC's map. But what we did learn is that due to costs, we might be able to still help our constituents reach the goals that the CPUC has laid out for accessibility. Through lowering costs, we feel that we can help our citizens maintain and access broadband capabilities. We recently determined that the middle mile is stopping right at the south end of Yountville and picking up at Lake County. That was our initial goal and hope for our study, to help our citizens attain broadband capabilities at a lower cost. Currently, our LOTA grant consultant, CBG, is in the process of developing contacts and partners like Valley Internet, Comcast, and AT&T to help determine how we might be able to bring down those costs for our citizens. We also have been in discussions with Anthony Halstead at the library to help to use town facilities as locations for library hotspots. Through the Parks and Recreation Department, the town of Yountville also offers modern technology classes where we teach people how to safely access and use the internet. The curriculum there has a is heavily involved in password hygiene, spam email identification, and the use of security certificates in the internet, and what cookies do. It's a big topic there. Through our Clerk and Communications Department, we also offer seminars on how to keep connected during power outages and PSP events and other natural disasters that we all know we face here in the Napa Valley. So that is what the town of Yountville is trying to do to help its citizens access broadband capabilities. If anybody has any questions, I'll answer them, and if I can't give you an answer, I'll take your card and email you an answer. Yes, ma'am.
I think this point about discovering that Yountville is a served community, but that cost is still a barrier, I can imagine that same scenario will be true in other Up Valley and communities all over the county. So I would love to ask if we could have some of the materials that you guys developed based on that finding about the path forward, because I think that would be helpful for other communities too. And also, it's great to hear about the tech classes. And so would love to chat with you and see how we could get that curriculum available across the county.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. So, a little bit of a change in plans. Our next segment was some updates from our internet service provider friends. The first on the list was Marcos Montez from Comcast. He was supposed to be here in person, but he's on the screen. There he is. Okay, good. So I will just turn it over to you, Marcos, and you can give us your update. Can you hear us, Marcos? I think he said, I can hear you. But we can't hear you. There's something going on. We can see your slides.
Now.
There
Hello?
we go. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, but the conversation is relevant since I actually was in Napa earlier today at the Boys and Girls Club something I'll mention a little bit later. But now I have a sick daughter with an ear infection at home, so apologies and wish I could be there. But definitely would love to connect with each and every one of you if you'd like to offline. Thanks again for the opportunity, Mark, and just wanted today to talk a little bit about our deployment plans, some of our upgrades in technology, then of course affordability programs. I think Mark had already mentioned we were selected through a competitive RFP process to be the county's partner in an FFA grant submittal back in September. Application details for about $10.7 million, which we would intend to serve about 280 new residents and 35 small and medium-sized customers, business customers. Again, status is just still waiting on a CPUC decision, and we're looking forward to hopefully hearing some good news here in the near future. As I mentioned, I was at the Boys and Girls Club earlier today, and even though this is not necessarily related to our deployment, I think it kind of correlates, is that we like to do things in the community to help with adoption, accessibility, and digital equity, of course. And most recently, we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club to help get their mobile STEM trailer on the ground and rolling. And I believe tonight at the school board, there's a vote to get this trailer out at every school site on a monthly basis. So just we think that's really important as we deploy, especially the new customer, to kind of get our message out there, especially around technology. And then on the business side, we're going to be co-lead sponsors with Kaiser at the Napa Chamber's upcoming Economic Outlook Conference. I think with artificial intelligence and just STEM in general being kind of at the forefront of what our future may look like, it's just important for us to stay connected with business leaders. Even in a heavily agriculturally based economy, we know that technology is going to be necessary. So as we deploy, we're just trying to be mindful about our partnerships in the community and making sure we get our messages out. In terms of the upgrades in technology, one of the most exciting things that we have ventured into through innovation is our network evolution to full duplex. So all the existing Comcast network will be transitioning to DOCSIS 4.0, otherwise known as full duplex, which what that means is multi-gig symmetrical speeds for everyone, enhanced reliability, low latency, and unprecedented visibility to our network. And this is going to be available to everyone. How do we get there? We've started those upgrades already, and that's really the transition to a mid-split architecture. So currently in Napa County, we've mid-split a little over 50% county-wide. And what that means is essentially upgrades to our equipment, digital nodes and amplifiers, improvements with digital fiber technology, and just so many good things are happening on that front. And we hope that obviously we'll have everybody to mid-split architecture by the end of 2025. And in the next 3 to 5 years, our entire network, not just in California, but nationwide, will hopefully be at full duplex or DOCSIS 4.0. One of the things that I've most recently seen just in terms of the capabilities in the mid-split architecture is just the increased visibility. Whenever there's a fiber outage, I'm sure a lot of my ISP partners will kind of empathize with me on this, is that it's kind of chasing a needle in a haystack. We don't necessarily know where that fiber break is, or we can't pinpoint it. So many times we have boots on the ground actually investigating to see where that's at. And that typically is the long end of a long outage duration. But in Rio Vista, where we had recently completed some mid-split work a few months ago, maintenance crew actually hit our fiber line kind of in an area where there was limited wireless connectivity. But through our technology, we were able to pinpoint that and get that fiber reconnected. And there was actually a city council meeting that day, so it helped them with their connectivity. So already seeing kind of the benefits as we start to transition our existing infrastructure. And then I'd like to call out, which is obviously relevant in an area that in high fire threat areas, is our storm-ready Wi-Fi. So it's essentially our new gateway that comes with unlimited cellular data and a 4-hour backup battery. We've actually tested this cellular network. So for even cases where it's not necessarily a true giant emergency, maybe there's just a power outage due to maintenance or whatnot, you would still be able to utilize this gateway for streaming capabilities. One last piece I'd like to call out, because we're seeing this a lot, and it will transition over to the affordability programs, is just newer technologies, but also kind of an affordable standpoint. Our Xfinity communities, or how we serve high density housing, has kind of transitioned over the last few years. One of the biggest benefits that we're seeing is what we call bulk internet, where essentially we can provide high density housing units with wholesale costing for very high speeds or lower speeds, depending on what the community sees as a need. Most recently, we developed a public-private partnership with Marin County and Marin Housing Authority for a 2-year bulk contract to serve 5 units. And so that contract recently just got executed, and we are currently in the deployment phase right now and looking forward to working with those residents. Another component for new builds or even retrofits is our Wi-Fi Ready program, where we actually have our gateways pre-installed in each unit. So it's as simple as folks moving in, just being able to call or use our Xfinity app to just get immediately connected to our network. And then the last piece, we're seeing kind of benefiting large HOA properties or places in urban areas where people want to have, I call it more of like a hotel style Wi-Fi experience, where you can kind of seamlessly move throughout the facility or the area without losing connection. So that's our managed Wi-Fi program. Each one of these, we're able to do different price points based on the number of residents, and happy to have any conversations with anybody offline if you're interested in hearing more about those. Moving over to our affordability program. So we've been doing Internet Essentials for a little over a decade now. We have 2 programs, and similar to ACP, CalFresh, SNAP, Medicaid are all qualifiers for our Internet Essentials program. One thing that we did roll out recently this year is kind of a prepaid service called Comcast Now. So there's different things that you could do on there. So for 100 megabits per second program is $30 a month. Obviously no contract necessary. And then we also have a 200 megabits per second program as well. And then a Wi-Fi pass for the 50. Along with that, we actually have an entertainment package that you can bundle or just get as a standalone called Comcast Now, which I think is an incredible value if you're just using streaming or if you're looking for just kind of media entertainment packages without having to pay for all the channels that you would normally get in an entertainment package. And one other thing that is brand new, in fact, it just got rolled out about a month ago, which I'm really excited about, is our Comcast Now Latino. And so what that's going to be able to do is provide existing or new Xfinity residents or our customers with now a Spanish language and live TV streaming package for just $10 a month additional. And that'll have 25 plus Spanish language channels with live sports, news, and also comes along with premium Peacock included with no extra costs and up to 20 hours of our cloud DVR. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Well, it looks like we have no questions for you, so you can go back to taking care of your daughter.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, there are questions. Don't go away yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. Comcast service in Yountville is so erratic that one of my neighbors has to pay for Verizon 5G as a backup. In addition, the promotional pricing games that Comcast employs mean some neighbors pay $60 a month for gigabit service while others pay $135 a month. When will Comcast deliver its promised mid-split upgrades to Yountville? And then a follow-up, and will Comcast ever standardize pricing? That's a lot, but...
Yeah. So our mid-split upgrades in Yountville will actually be starting to take place here in the fall and should be complete before the end of 2025. In terms of pricing, we're always looking at different opportunities to make sure we have affordability programs. Obviously, if you're paying for a gig speed, that's going to be our most premium package. I can tell you that with the mid-split upgrades also comes along with a complimentary speed upgrade. So when that happens, you will get notified in your Xfinity app or however you receive your billing information. And so that is something to be on the lookout for here in the near future.
Okay. Is that the last question? Okay. Thank you very much, Marcos.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to take a 5-minute break? Yes. Okay. So let's take a 5-minute break. It is 2:43 right now, so by 2:48 we will start again. So thanks, everyone. My mic on?
Mi micrófono
Hello?
encendido.
Hello, everyone. We're about to get started again. Okay. So thanks, everybody, for hanging around. I hope not too many people dropped off of Zoom, because we still have quite a bit more to go, and some of the best stuff is yet to come. So right now, I'm going to invite up to the podium Joe Kraus, who's the general manager of Valley Internet, who is another one of the county's partners in this whole broadband odyssey. And he's going to tell you a little bit about what they do and their technology and some of the other interesting things that he has to say. So thanks.
Mark?
Yep. Oh, you can use that to click the slides.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Thanks for having me here today. I'm Joe Kraus with Valley Internet. I'm happy to share our 20-year birthday with you all today. Well, Monday. And I'm hoping to share just a bit of our story. And our small company was started here in Napa, where we dedicated the past 20 years building affordable and reliable internet to the areas in the county beyond the reach of copper and fiber infrastructure. While the cities, along with Highway 29 and Silverado Trail, receive considerable infrastructure investments, rural Napa County, with its rugged terrain, sparse population, and limited infrastructure, was largely overlooked. And these areas are where Valley Internet invested the most. Here's an example of one of our early relays, built more than 15 years ago. We've rebuilt it a few times since, based on technology changes and network demands. And with the help of neighbors like the McQueenie family in Woodin Valley, and Hardin Ranch in Pope Valley, and Legier Meredith and Dry Creek, and many, many others, we've extended our humble 1.5 meg T1 circuit in the hills of Gordon Valley to a world-class, redundant, multi-gigabit network that encompasses the county and surrounding areas. The towers mean a lot more than bandwidth. Behind each tower, there's a neighborhood and a community that we're invested in. It's 12 homes in Woodin Valley, or 150 homes in Circle Oaks. We cover each and every one of them. Connecting the countryside, which has been our tagline for the past 15 years, means that our network is often exposed to the elements. The rugged terrain and off-grid power demands require us to continually innovate, from solar and wind turbines, lithium-ion battery banks, and remote start generators. Valley Internet's relays are designed and built to weather any storm, keeping our customers online when it matters most. Our network is built not just for speed, but for resilience. When power goes out or damage occurs to accidents, our network keeps on trucking. And that's where wireless networks shine. When disaster does strike, like in this photo, and damage occurs, compared with typical weeks or months to replace melted wires or roadside cabinets, we usually can reconnect critical infrastructure within days, even hours, upon safe access. In some of the most challenging situations, we've also set up temporary networks for neighbors and first responders to connect in areas where all other communication failed. We're proud of what we've built and the service that we provide, none of which would be possible without Valley Internet's amazing team. We're a tight-knit group with a passion for what we do. With safety and training as our top priority, our team is up for any challenge and ready to respond at a moment's notice. Here on the left is Lars and Gaspar. They're at the Twin Sisters relay after the 2017 Atlas fire. They, along with the rest of the team, worked tirelessly to reconnect everybody as soon as it was safe to do so. About a quarter of our network was destroyed in that fire. We were able to connect the majority, though, within a few weeks. And unfortunately, we got more practice in 2020. Here on the right is a relay in Howell Mountain. Didn't fare so well. But we were able to reconnect things there in that second round in a few days, thanks to network redundancies and better preparation for what Mother Nature throws our way. From the start, our little company has worked closely with the community, and we've not stopped to rest. Much like our friends at AT&T and Comcast and other providers, we care greatly about the communities that we serve. We've put our limited resources to work in ways that we feel make the biggest impact. Since the company was founded, we've provided free internet service to fire stations that are within our reach, ensuring they have a reliable connectivity to coordinate their efforts. We've also established public Wi-Fi in key gathering places, offering lifeline during wildfires and other disasters. Valley Internet donates services and expertise to several performing arts theaters and community centers around the region. And during the pandemic, teachers and students were given top priority on our super busy installation schedule. Of course, we enthusiastically participated in the Affordable Connectivity Program, and we eagerly await whatever comes next. And we also continue to reinvest in our network, always upgrading our infrastructure and the equipment at our customers' premises in order to make the faster and more affordable speeds available for everybody. Particularly, our upload speeds rival and often exceed traditional wireline offerings. And as this graph shows, our cost per megabit here in green have only decreased. And as we build more capacity into the network, we like seeing that trend of the faster service plans for lower costs. I'm also excited to introduce our latest initiative, Valley Internet of Things. For the last 20 years, we've worked hard to bring the internet to the ranch. And with this latest project, we're bringing the ranch to the internet. With innovative technology that allows users to monitor water levels in their tanks, ponds, and wells, allows them to control valves and pumps, sense for fire and weather conditions. The system also allows for generators to be started remotely, providing added layer of safety and convenience, especially for our field technicians when the conditions are at their worst. With the user's permission, the system can also share crucial information about water supplies and hookup requirements directly with the firefighters, giving them the tools they need to better prepare and better protect our land and our homes. And while we only just started, Valley Internet has already deployed this technology at over 100 ranches and valleys throughout this valley, and we expect to install about 300 next year. I think we can agree that Netflix is pretty great, but there's more that these bits can do. Leveraging Valley Internet's infrastructure throughout the county and areas, we're bringing tangible differences to the whole region in terms of safety, utility, and convenience. Know that you have water when a fire breaks. Check that the gates are closed and your neighbor's cows aren't at your doorstep. Save irrigation because the soil is already saturated. And start your generator from anywhere in the world. Show firefighters that you have water and what hookups to bring, all without the need for power, cellular, or Wi-Fi connectivity. Today, Valley Internet is more than an internet service provider. We're a partner in this community's growth. And as you already know, we've worked with Napa County on a feasibility study that would bring fiber and gigabit speeds to the far corners of the valley, of the county. And now leveraging that study, and together with the county, we plan to pursue state and federal funds to turn that project into reality. Our goal is to continue pushing the boundaries, making resilient and high-speed internet available to everyone. I'll end on this nice note. from a former customer of ours that I think captures our impact. Thank you. Available for questions.
Questions?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Look forward to working with you in the future. Next, we have Donna Davis from AT&T, who will be giving us an update on their plans and their programs and their technology. So, do you have slides?
Yeah, I have just.
Okay, so that's the button.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. My name's Donna Davis. I'm with AT&T External Affairs. Some companies call it local government affairs. I call it the everything affairs. In addition to owning the relationship for 9 counties in the North Coast with the local government people. We also work with the nonprofit organizations in the community, public safety, our business partners. I basically interface with all of the business units within AT&T supporting the 9 counties here in the North Coast. So with the NCBC having 4 county membership, I cover all 4 of those counties, so I'm familiar with your work, and it's been a great partnership over the years. You know, I was thinking about it, we're talking about the SBC purchase of AT&T in 2005. I've been with the company for 26 years, so was Pacific Bell when I started, and I was actually here when DSL rolled out. So that was the biggest thing after dial-up, basically. So I sold DSL to small business customers back in the late 90s. So it's kind of come all the way around to fiber and a couple of other new technologies that I'll be able to talk to you about today. Let me see here. I'm going to... Is it this side? Oh, there we go. Okay, so you know, one of the things that Mark asked us to talk about today is kind of our investment, deployment, and what we're doing in the community here. And I apologize if this is a little bit kind of small here, but over, gosh, within a 5-year span, AT&T has invested nearly $70 million in infrastructure work here in Napa County. So that includes fiber deployment, wireless sites. In the last Since 2019, we've deployed 10 new wireless sites, including 2 this year, one in St. Helena and then one here in Napa covering the fairgrounds, you know, Bottle Rock, always a big a user of wireless service there too. That includes additionally upgrades so that we can handle additional capacity, right? So it's not just about the coverage, but it's about the capacity with the additional use, people on their Netflix, people video chatting, just the increased demand on our network requires that we're doing that investment and also the upgrade. One of the other things I'll talk about here, and I think it's important because it's going to address not only the accessibility piece, but the adoption work that is so important we all agree upon, is the investment in the community organizations. And so you'll see a bullet point here about our AT&T investment, AT&T and our AT&T Foundation throughout California of over $27 million. That includes a lot of work we've done here locally in Napa with grant funding to programs such as Puertas Abiertas. I see Blanca here today for their digital literacy programming that they do. We just had a laptop giveaway this past weekend for Puertas and MCU, both organizations working with Latino and Indigenous communities here. So it was wonderful to have support in language and in culture from those organizations as we distributed those laptops. That was part of a program we have with Human IT. They do the refurbishing of these devices and then partner with AT&T, who in turn partners with the community organizations to distribute those devices. So since the inception of that program in 2021, we've given about 22,000 laptops away in California. Last year, we did one here in Napa for 10,000 Degrees, another local community organization helping students get to college. So I've got 2 more in my territory coming up, one in Marin County, working with ARCA Marin and 2 other organizations that do work with people with developmental disabilities. So we'll be doing a laptop giveaway in Marin, and then also one working with the Yurok tribe up in Eureka. Later in September, I just got the text today that the laptops were delivered. So a lot of great work in the local community. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity to get to meet you all that are doing this work, because we depend on that partnership so that the resources of AT&T can get in the hands of the community. So that's the work that we're doing within the community. I did want to mention too that the fiber deployment. So we do have fiber to the home and small business here in Napa, predominantly here around the city of Napa right now. There is a project for some deployment up in Calistoga as part of our service quality plan that is coming, I think, expected sometime next year for that deployment. And as Mark mentioned, we did submit 7 applications to the FFA grant process for the CPU's consideration for deployment of fiber in several locations throughout Napa County. One of the things that I was really happy to see is that with those partnerships with private companies, we could take advantage of the funding from both sources, right? So AT&T on those applications in almost all circumstances put up about half of the funding for each of those applications. So half of the money for the project coming, requested from the FFA grant, and then half from AT&T. So really kind of putting our money on the line to help build it out, because it is so expensive here in these rural territories. I mean, most of my territory is rural, and so we all share in the difficulties of getting service deployed out here. So I was really happy to see that, and we are eagerly also awaiting word on how that flows through, and also continuing partnership with Napa County when we go to look at when the BEAD applications open up. So in my role in external affairs, I've been very involved with Jan and Anthony and Mark since before all of this funding came out, and we'll continue to have those discussions along the way. I'm trying to get this clicking. Okay. Okay. So talking about some new technology, AT&T Internet Air. So this is our broadband offering over our wireless network. So this is going to deliver kind of a in-home Wi-Fi experience over AT&T's wireless network. So there's no overage charges on this. It's an easy self-install at home. You can check the availability online at your residence, and it's basically shipped to you, and it's pretty much plug-and-play connectivity to the internet in your home. The regular price on that is $60 a month. The $47 you see there is when you have a bundle with a qualified wireless plan and automatic paperless billing as well. So really excited to see that. I think we just launched this week or last week finally in Eureka, and I think that might be the final area in my territory to kind of see AT&T Internet Air deploy. So we'll see this offering in areas primarily where we don't have fiber, right? Because fiber would be first, but obviously it's not possible everywhere. So really excited to see that we have an option for broadband over our wireless network. And then lastly, here on this last slide, we talk about affordability. AT&T was really engaged during ACP. I know we worked with CTF on activities across the state trying to get the word out. I was at tables at libraries talking about ACP, trying to get the word out. Now that it's gone, we still do have our access from AT&T, which is our offer for limited income households. It's $30 a month for speeds up to 100 megs. In areas where the 100 meg speed service is not available, we do have a new offering for up to 50 megs. It's $15 a month, so whichever is the faster speed that's available. It's great here because there's no contract, no deposit. It's a very easy process to qualify. So I've listed the website address there. It's att.com/internet/access. And that's where you can kind of go see if you qualify and if it's available at your house and how to actually apply for it. I'm done. That's it.
Okay, thank you. We have one question that came in over the web, so I'll read that. And it is, are you only wireless, and will you offer open access services to fiber subscribers?
Okay, AT&T is not only wireless. I'm trying to understand the question. We are wired and wireless as far as broadband connectivity. So whether that's over the AT&T Internet Air, which is a wireless product, but we do have fiber. I'll leave some. I know that person's online, so they won't get to see it. But I have some handouts about our fiber service, the AT&T Internet Air, and the Access product, which I can leave outside. I'm sorry. What was the second question?
Oh, it says the question was for the last speaker. I'm sorry, it was for Joe. It came in a little late, but I'll tell you what.
Oh, here we go. Thank you. Hello. Yes, we are only wireless right now. However, just recently acquired our CPCN, so we'll be able to hang on poles soon. And regarding open access, that's more of a middle mile question, and there's no plans for that right now for us.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, any questions for Donna? Sunny has a question.
I'll defer to anybody else who has a question. But Donna, first of all, thank you for AT&T being willing to switch a low-income customer or an income qualifying customer immediately to your affordable offers if they were on a market rate plan but now qualify. Not all ISPs are doing that, so thank you. Actually, your call center is very helpful as well. Doesn't do upselling like some other companies around the state. So I wanted to first compliment you. Second, when I was, presenting this opportunity of what I call the direct notification, which is so helpful when a public agency tells everybody they're eligible, then they need to get referred to a CBO locally. They can come through our call center. How would you, or Joe, or Marcus, if he's still listening, think about optimizing a partnership with the county of Napa if they do direct notification? What would that look like? What would you need in order to say, we're going to get all 17,000 lower income households online with one of our ISP providers?
It's a great question. I wrote it down when you mentioned it about the funding for the direct mail because I thought, okay, we need to talk. And we absolutely be willing to sit down so that we make sure that we can be part of that opportunity from an AT&T Access perspective. I know currently our marketing related to the product is, media, marketing, radio, ads and things like that. But I think we saw it too with ACP. That's compared to the events that we had where there wasn't the direct notification, the amount of traffic that those little cards drove was really critical to getting those people to all of the providers that were there at the event I went to that day to be able to talk about what's available in their area. And if it's not AT&T, we want it to be with whomever is available there because we're obviously none of us are everywhere. And so I really would welcome that opportunity.
Great. I think you're on. I'm accepting for you, Ann.
Give me a call.
Just because I'm not in charge doesn't mean I won't try to be.
Thanks.
Thank you, Donna. So our next speaker, I heard give a brief presentation at one of the Broadband breakfast presentations, and I found it was very, very interesting and very compelling. And it's about a program called Champions Community Foundation, and they're in Georgia. I know they're not local, but I think it was such a great presentation and so interesting that we'd all would have liked to have heard it, so I've invited him to speak here today. And there he is on the screen. So Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you tell us about Champions and what they do for the physically challenged young adults?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Of course, I'm trying to fight the camera, but I think I got that. So yes, and by the miracle of broadband, here we are. So we're located in Atlanta, and it's called the Champions Community Foundation, and their website is championscommunityfoundation.org. I'm going to read our mission statement and then back away from that to talk about exactly what that means. So, because you know how official mission statements can be, but it says Champions Community Foundation exists to empower young adults with physical challenges to reach their potential for independence and belonging. So I'm going to tell you what that means for us. Our job is to fight isolation and loneliness in physically challenged young adults and its effect on the mental health of both the young adult, but also the caregiving parent. So the community we serve, as I said, are those with physical disabilities, and that's due to cerebral palsy, spina bifida, muscular dystrophy, physical injury. These are all people that are mentally sharp, funny, intelligent, want to be independent, but they're challenged by their physical limitations. So they're just like you and I, except they have a body that doesn't cooperate. Now, each year, another group ages out, finding themselves isolated at home, dependent on aging parents for personal care and support. Now, as it probably is in California, it certainly is this way in Georgia, is that in the public school system where they have special programs for your child who has physical disabilities, that stops at the age of 21. But prior to that time, they're engaged, they're doing sporting events, they're meeting their friends, they're learning, they're actively engaged. And 21, it stops. So now you can imagine the isolation. You're at home, you're separated from your friends, and no way to communicate with them. So what we did is there are 4 initiatives I'm going to talk about in the creation of each initiative. The very first one was to fight the isolation, and it's called the Titan Athletic and Social Programs. So in 2009, there were 6 dads here in our local area that had children that had physical disabilities. They had just aged out of high school, and they got together and said, we have to do something. We have to fix this. So they created something we call the Titan program, and it's a broad range athletic and social program. And right now we have about 100, 120 members that will participate. And so what this does is we have a scrimmage every other week where we've created this game. It's sort of like a wheelchair soccer, but yet, we have paraplegics. So if you can't push yourself, we have young men volunteer to push the wheelchairs from goal to goal. And it starts off with something we call the Power Half Hour, where they get together and they talk and discuss their problems, and they have some devotions. And then after that, the music goes up, the coaches come in. It's just like this wonderful, wonderful energy in this gymnasium, which is allowed us to use at a local church, allows us to use there. So what this is doing is these people young adults are getting together, they're seeing their friends every other week, and it's just building friendships, and it's a wonderful way to help beat the isolation. So that's our first initiative, to try to solve that problem. Now, and as time went on, it was clear that thanks to medical science, that the fact it was improving, these children are living longer, which is a wonderful thing. But what's that mean for the parent, the aging parent? They're starting to outlive the parent. And then, if you have a parent that has a child that has special needs, what am I going to do now? So again, a group of these dads, and one in particular, the executive director of our program, came up with Champions Community Foundation. They started the foundation, but Champions Place. And this was a uniquely designed, safe, accessible, and affordable shared living environment that they have come up with. Now, as far as we know, and I'm excited to be talking to California, we have looked everywhere to see if there are places like this that focus on physically challenged. We know that there are many mentally challenged houses and programs that they have for those individuals, but again, these needs are very different. And so we have created this facility. We think we're the only one in the nation. We are sharing ideas with the Southeast. We have 4 other communities that have reached out to us for our ideas, and we share everything. And so we have a place now that it has 4 quads. There's 16 rooms, so 4 quads, so 4 rooms each. It's like a modern dorm room where all these kids can live independent and productive lives. They work, they volunteer, and they live. And boy, do they live. I remember the first week we had opened up the program, you know, you're wondering, have we made a mistake? Is everything going to be okay? Did we do everything all right? And it was about 5 o'clock the day. I'm there hanging around talking to people, and I see a little bus pull up, kids in a wheelchair get off, and they come through the door, opens up, and he throws his arms up into the air and says, "I'm home." So we knew at that point we had actually achieved something. So besides being a living environment for these 16 individuals, we had to make it a social hub, again, because we have so many other members. And so it has a large interior room where we can throw parties for Halloween parties, Christmas parties. It has a large, very large outdoor area that we can have meetings. They can do a movie night. So a lot of social activities happen at this particular event. Now, from the very beginning, one thing that was incredibly important to us is the use. We wanted to be a hub for assistive technology, and we wanted to take it as far as we could in this facility. And the reason I'm here, you know that could not happen without broadband, without Wi-Fi. So we went through and we worked with Georgia Tech. We worked with a local company here called SmartWave, fantastic Wi-Fi company. Google was a huge partner of ours through this process. So we were able to do RFID automated doors so that, you know, each individual, each resident is identified. And as they go through in a wheelchair, they approach a door they need to open up. The door just simply opens up because it recognizes it. And then the same thing happens to the room. And once they get into their room, they turn on their lights, their fans, their heater, the TV, change channel, turn it on, music, and make a phone call, all using assistive devices. So that was, we just absolutely could not do these things without having broadband and Wi-Fi. So now we have this wonderful place that has all this terrific technology, and we have to share it. So this is where the third initiative comes in, and that is the one that's called Champions Place at Home. And here we're trying to, again, help with independence, but also fight some isolation. So what we have found, we went out and we looked at our community. Remember, we said that there were 11,000 people locally in the Atlanta area. And we find these young adults and they're alone and their parents are exhausted. So we created a questionnaire. We reach out to them. They run through the questionnaire. We look at it. If we feel that they're in our target market, that we can help because they have the abilities we need to use the assistive technology, we set up a Zoom meeting with them. We go through their house and we watch and we tag all the areas that we think we can fix. And we do this at no cost to the family at all. So we put together a package of assistive devices and we go into their house and we update everything that we need to help the individual, the physically challenged young woman or man, to help them live more independently. You know, one of the big issues with these individuals is just their night comfort, you know, to be able to handle the climate control in their own room. And so we go in these homes and all of them do have ceiling fans. You know, very few have a switch to control fans separately from light, and a lot of them will have a pull cord. So what does that mean? Mom or dad has to come in the middle of the night and be able to turn the fan on, turn the fan off, because the temperature of these individuals is always different than sort of what is best for everybody else in the house. You have a space heater. So by our being able to go in and give them a smart ceiling fan, a smart space heater, it completely eliminates the needs for the parents to get up at night. And you think that's not a big deal? It's a huge deal. The parents are so grateful for that. And you know, I've been given a gift by watching these kids because I'm able to see people that are 30 years old, 40 years old, some are even older, being able to do something for the very first time by themselves. Make a phone call by themselves when their hands don't work, fingers don't work, legs don't work, be able to turn lights on, change channel, listen to the music they want to without calling in mom, without calling in dad to doing it for them. So it has just been wonderful for us from that standpoint to be able to see. I view it with amazement every time I see it, and gratitude that we can be able to make these kinds of impact. But again, and I'll throw the plug in, without broadband and Wi-Fi, none of that's happening in the home. So it's vitally important for us that we have a strong infrastructure when we go out and do these things. The last initiative we call, again, we're constantly trying to fight the isolation. and also help with the independence. The last one is dealing with the isolation. So, the Champions Place, they get something, or excuse me, the Titan community where we do the scrimmages, that's every 2 weeks. Well, we wanted to create a virtual community, and we have created this virtual world called Champions Community Connect, where 6 days a week, they can get together virtually for about an hour on different topics. So here it goes. Monday is Bible study. Tuesday is called Talkative Tuesday. Wednesday is Wellness Wednesday. Thursday is Trivia Thursday. We have Friday Fun Day and Saturday Chatter Day. So I know one mom said to me that she is so grateful that her child every day has an opportunity to see her friends, not be isolated, communicate, visually talk to them. And we do this through the assistive devices. A lot of Google Hub Max technology is used quite a bit in what we do. And she's like, I know that my daughter or my son is going to be fine during this hour. And that allows me to go out and do grocery shopping. I know that being able to, some of them, they just have to leave their child at home sometimes. And so being able to know that their child can actually call them when they could not touch a phone, but do this through this assistive technology gives them huge comfort that they can go out on a date night if they need to. So again, it's not only the independent and isolation of the physically challenged individual, but it's their parents as well. So I guess that's really the end. These initiatives, and I know I keep plugging it, but I have to because this is a broadband initiative. Again, we could not do the Champions Community Connect. We couldn't do all the assistive technology we do in the home through Champions Place at Home. We couldn't do anything at Champions Place itself without the wonderful technology of broadband, Wi-Fi, and IoT. So I think that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yes, we have one question.
I think you should adopt me as a resident because I keep asking these questions. But I'm wondering, from Paul, what is the cost of the assistive technology per home? When you what is all of that all in?
Sure. So that's, every house is different, and we fundraise for that. So again, it does not cost them. So it could be as little as $500. It could be $3,000. We will do we'll do automated doors on a few occasions where it really is important. We have a young lady we're working with now who uses eye gaze, and she loves to go outside, and she can control her wheelchair with eye gaze, which is amazing to me. And her mom and dad, they do leave her alone, occasionally. And so we're setting her up with an automated door, and she loves to go outside. That she now can, through eye gaze, move her wheelchair to the door, open the door, go outside, and enjoy the sun. I mean, that's just a huge thing for their independence. So it varies, to answer your question, somewhere with 500 to 3,000, depending upon the home. Everyone's different.
It's not so much a question as a comment, but I think this is really applicable, and it's so great to hear from you at this meeting. And a lot of what we're talking about moving forward is these projects that will incorporate digital literacy training and digital skills training and devices into, affordable housing. And to your question about whether there are, affordable housing or other housing developments like yours, it's something I'm going to Google as soon as I can and try to figure that out. But, Marcos mentioned Marin's project in affordable housing units, and I know that they do have a budget incorporated for assisted technology, a specific budget in there. And so as we develop these programs, I think it's really important that we look into this.
We have an organization here called Sunshine on a Rainy Day, and what they do is they work with a place called the Shepherd Center here, where a child or an individual is newly physically handicapped through some kind of usually physical injury, but it could be other things, and they need their house outfitted. And so we've partnered with them where we try to go in early, and we're actually providing them the devices, and they're doing the labor and putting it in at that. Sometimes they're building a new house for people and they're putting the technology in there, and it's certainly a lot cheaper when you do it right in the beginning instead of coming out retrofitting. So there's some real potential there.
There's one more question that came in over Zoom. How fast broadband of a speed do you need to come to the house to take care of all this assistive technology?
So, there are other people that can answer that question a lot better than I can. If you're just dealing with the IoT stuff, it's nothing, right? I mean, we're just passing little stuff back and forth. When they're using the Nest Hub Max to communicate, because we use Google Meets a lot, and so doing the video calling, I know is going to be an increase. I don't know what the minimum speed is, but that certainly is a good question.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi.
Yes.
I'm Patricia Sullivan. I work for Disability Services and Legal Center, which is an independent living center, which helps people with any kind of physical or mental disability at any age, and also all seniors. There is an independent living center that covers every county in the country. So if you want to share, I encourage you to reach out to your county's independent living center. I know in California we have a foundation that covers the living centers, independent living centers for the entire state of California. And I'm not sure how that works in Georgia. The particular one I work for covers 4 counties, so it may not be specific to just the county that Atlanta is in, but it will be covered.
Yeah, again, the focus of what we were doing, and I did not vet all the executive director was the one who had been out and vetted and looked and searched and, trying to find what they wanted. But again, the focus was 100% young adult physical challenges. So older adults have a completely mindset of their needs. Mentally challenged, a completely different mindset of their needs. So it was really intended to have a strong focus on this particular young adult physical challenges. And that is what we couldn't find. Not that we couldn't find homes that might, let everybody, no matter what end, but that was the focus originally.
I understand that. I just wanted to say that I think independent living centers might be able to work with you in your focus, although their interests are broader. For instance, the information we could acquire from you. I'm currently working with a senior who has trouble in her apartment in Sonoma County because the doors are so heavy and she uses a power wheelchair. And that information was of opening doors with smart technology, and the cost you were referring to is something I'd like to further pursue.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions for Paul, either on Zoom or here in person? Okay, Paul, thank you. I know we kept you working late today, and we really appreciate it. It was a very, very interesting and very good presentation, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Okay, before we move on to our next speaker, I just would like to ask everyone before you leave today, there are paper forms out in the front there on the table, basically just feedback forms that if you could fill those out and leave them with us, we'd really, really appreciate it. We also have an online form, and we will give you the URL. I think we have a QR code that you can just click on to access that form, and if you would please fill that out, it would very much help us, because we want to do more of these meetings in the future, and we'd like to know what you're interested in. Did we cover what you were interested in? Is there something else you want us to cover? Did you not like it at all and just don't want to participate anymore? We'd like to know that too. So yeah, please fill out one of our feedback forms. So next, on the subject of internet-enabled technologies, a company that I worked for at one point, Stantec, is very active in that smart cities community. They know a lot about it, and so I reached out to them to talk to us a little bit about the technology involved and the potential of smart cities. And we have Rick Hybricks from Stantec. He's the smart cities lead for Stantec. And Rick, I think you're somewhere else in the country. I'm not sure where you are, but
I'm not even in the country. I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, okay then. Well, thank you.
Is that
and I know,
okay?
Yes, it is, absolutely.
I
And
can
I know
stay?
we're
Okay.
and I know we're keeping you working late too, so we greatly appreciate that. So I will, without further ado, turn it over to you and let's learn about smart cities.
Sure, no worries. Thank you so much for having us. We're pleased to participate, even though it's from Canada. The next 10 minutes or so, we'd love to share you a little bit our perspective on everything we've heard so far and how that translates to us reimagining the communities we live in. And of course, it's the technical infrastructure and the digital capabilities of this amazing fourth industrial revolution that we live in that is enabling us to reimagine how we work, live, learn, and play. Now, we call it smart cities, but the term is frankly used across the world and named lots of different things: intelligent communities, urban innovation, smart cities, cognitive cities. And with that, unfortunately, comes kind of the confusion we and maybe the tech sector is introducing. What is this? What does it mean? Must be expensive. Is it Big Brother watching you? And the list goes on and on. But over the last 15, 20 years, we've seen some amazing capabilities been introduced in our municipalities, large and small, that are taking advantage of digital capabilities to truly transform experiences or outcomes, and many of which we have heard about over the last little bit. So I'd like to make sure I kind of set the tone. Oh, there we go. And that although at this session we're talking about broadband and technology, and yes, I'm going to later talk about this is all technology enabled, but it is not about the technology. It's about creating communities and better places where we want to work, live, learn, and play, and truly transform the living and life's experiences. So you see here on the left, it's all about the environmental footprint and jobs and economic growth and all the things we've heard about a little bit earlier, and equity and inclusion. And it's those conversations that are setting the tone as to why do we need technology? Why do we need digital capabilities to help us enable those? And sometimes maybe the answer is technology is not the answer. It doesn't all have to be digital per se. That said, we live in the 21st century and technology is here to stay, if we like it or not. Over 42 billion devices are already connected in our communities around the world, from fire hydrants to light poles to even toilets and parking meters. And the more devices that are being connected, the more we can take data from those devices and start add intelligence and create new experiences and new opportunities. This we kind of call the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things is really one of several digital trends that have truly transformed today's life. Add to it artificial intelligence and machine learning. Add to it the role of robotics, service robotics, and robotics in factories. But also think about autonomous vehicles, autonomous devices, not just our cars that will drive themselves, but even grass cutting machines that drive themselves. And maybe some of you have Roomba vacuum cleaners at home. All this autonomous capability introduces incredibly new opportunities and challenges. And much of this sits on terms like cloud and the internet, blockchain, and of course, broadband, which we spoke of. Now, if we use these capabilities intelligently and not for the sake of technology, but we start to think about how the sum of those parts can enable us to deliver new value, we think we have really here the tools that are the catalyst for transforming our cities and our infrastructure. And it's with those tools where we can address our current day challenges, from climate change to economic growth, jobs, transit mobility, all the way to wellness, safety, and security. Now, the market is being inundated with companies that have solutions for this, a silver bullet to solve whatever problem you have, from smart buildings and smart water and smart grid and smart parking and wayfinding and sensors, and the list goes on. And many of you that probably work for a municipality or would be a developer or in real estate, you get probably calls every day from another technology company that's going to help you solve your problem. Now, where do you start? How do you make sense of all this? How do you avoid this becoming a spaghetti of disconnected technologies that do only one thing, that may not talk to one another, that are proprietary, that are in the long run very costly to operate, that may not be interoperable, and now we create a complexity that is very hard to change. So with this evolution and these emergence of broadband, which is really the fourth utility after water and gas and sewage, we build utilities and electricity all the time. This digital infrastructure is the fourth utility that is going to help us enable all those connected devices to deliver value-added services as long as we're intelligent and intentional about it. And that's our journey towards becoming a true smart city or an intelligent community. Again, I use the word smart city. That doesn't mean if you're not a city that it doesn't apply. No matter how small the community or even a campus can be benefiting from this. What we're seeing is we often start at the bottom. It's an isolated use of a technology, deliver one value proposition within the community. It's great. But what we want to help communities do is to move up this stack from more integrated value propositions to starting to think about how all this becomes central to our municipal and community operations, to ultimately where we don't even think about it anymore, but appreciate and accept that technology and the technological foundation and digital solutions are just simply part of the DNA of the communities that we create, and therefore allow us to deliver these incredible services and examples we spoke of and have heard about earlier. I'll give you one quick example. This is the city where I live, just north of Toronto, a city called Markham. About 350,000 people live here, very large land area, one of the fastest growing regions in North America. And the city, without saying it must be digital, has realized that they have to embrace smart technologies to help them achieve their aspirations. And of course, as a community, they want to do a lot of things, but they have highlighted in a new strategic plan for a large subdivision 4 key priorities. And this is completely defunct from any technology speak. They want to improve and simplify and streamline mobility from people and goods and services. They want to address climate sustainability and create a green, sustainable community. They want to deliver frictionless services so that as a citizen or a business, you don't have to give information more than once. You can access municipal services very easily, effectively, when you want, where you want, and how you want. And of course, underneath the hood of all this, they want to operationalize they want to create efficient and productive city operations, which is one of the byproducts of which would be cost reduction and simplification. So this is where they start. And then they said, we know that technology is going to help us do this. So yes, we are committed to being smart. But what we want is not a series of shiny objects, point solutions that after 2 years are obsolete. We want to make it scalable and sustainable, and therefore think about the network, the broadband, as this part of the DNA of the community, and set a bunch of standards and concepts where every party, if it's the road builder or the street light people or the real estate folks, all participate in creating this intentional approach. So they want to be very strategic about their approach and create a roadmap that the community can abide by. So the impact of it was a highly engaged community, everyone on board, because it was outcome driven, not technology driven, but on the backs of it create a blueprint for digital foundations and smart solutions that is scalable so that new capabilities can be introduced as long as it adds to a sustainable ROI, not just financial, but sustainable, and delivers value into the future. Now, 5 very key takeaways we walked away with as we went through this. And that this is not about technology first, this is about people first. And I think the presenter before me and others earlier have made it very clear. This is about people, quality of life, and we start with the why. Why do we do this? It's for our community. Second is that, sure, we can get broadband to come in and have high-speed internet and speeds and feeds, but it's not only that. We need to create a collaborative ecosystem of partnerships, of technology companies, academia, the business, the community, the government, all working together towards a very clear set of objectives and goals, and then enabling and turning on technology so that it's repeatable and sustainable. then also recognizing that there has to be some governance and regulation around this. We're trying to build communities of the future, but often our building code or our regulations are frankly not designed for new innovative capabilities. So reimagining how we think about our government regulations, breaking down barriers so that we can introduce innovation and things that maybe aren't as proven yet. Sometimes, especially in municipalities, we want 3 quotes, where have you done this before? But sometimes the greatest ideas may come from a small organization in your community, and they need to be given the room to come and try, as long as it's within the right framework. But also talking about privacy. What happens with all the data? We talked about earlier about these systems and technologies in people's homes. That means data is flowing around. People may have visibility. How do we create some policy and privacy governance around this so that we don't have citizens ultimately revolt and says, I don't want to live in this world where everything is connected and everything and everybody can see. And it's only then we start to think about how do we build a digital infrastructure that is secure, scalable, and sustainable, that allows us to create all this value and opens up to this mirage of smart solutions that are available readily now, but also will come into the future. And the interplay with these 5 key pillars, we believe, create an attitude, an innovation aptitude towards embracing new capabilities to constantly fine-tune and improve the value we want to create in our communities. So we strongly believe, and we're an architect and engineering firm, we have been building communities for as long as we exist, but we do believe that our future communities, because of our history and past, first and foremost are people-centric and purpose-driven. If the conversation veers off of that and turns into shiny object and technology, we lose. This is what drives the conversation. We do believe great communities are design-led and purpose-led. Sometimes we see communities say, oh, I introduced this technology and now I go stick QR codes on every light pole to explain to people what it is. Maybe we need to think about how do we design the technology in our community, not bolt it on and then have to explain it with QR codes. And it's really only last but not least where we believe that communities of tomorrow are technology powered, and therefore the technology conversation, the broadband conversation, the IoT conversation has to be at the table when we reimagine how we want to change the way we live, work, learn, and play. Thank you very much. That is my brief presentation. I'm happy to take on a question or maybe a comment.
Thank you very much, Rick. Any questions from the audience for Rick? Yeah, I think everybody really related to that, and I did too. It was kind of unexpected because I really did expect a lot of technology talk, and what we got was people-centric information, and it's greatly appreciated because I think that's what we're really all about here, is serving the people, our community, as opposed to just pushing technology. So that was really welcome. Let me ask you one thing. Stantec is a worldwide organization, I know that, but if someone here from the audience wanted to get in contact with you to talk about it some more, how would they get in contact? Maybe you could put your email or the appropriate person's email in the chat so that anyone who is interested can contact you directly.
I'm clearly not in sales, or I would have started and ended my slides with my contact information, and I realized I didn't put it anywhere. I will put it in the chat. I would love to receive an email and direct you to the right people either locally or maybe help you along the way myself. My team is small but mighty, and we are interconnected with every aspect of Stantec, bringing the best of engineering, architecture, design, technology to the table, and wrap kind of the smart thinking, the digital enablement and digital innovation engine to the table. So we're more than happy to help you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thanks for staying up late.
It's okay. It's not that late.
Take care.
You.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for hanging around this long. I know this has been a long meeting, but I think our final speaker, the best is yet to come. because it's something that everyone here in this community has experienced and has a strong interest in, and we're going to, of course, be talking about the fire department and some of their new technology that's designed to keep us safe from fire. So I'd like to welcome up J.R. Rogers, who's the Assistant Fire Administrator for the Napa County Fire Department.
Perfect. Good. I'm glad I have a clicker because, unlike Mark, if I didn't have my slides, I would be very lost. But my name is J.R. Rogers. As you mentioned, I'm the Assistant Fire Administrator for the County of Napa, and one of the arms of the fire administration is the County Fire Department. And initially, when Jan came and talked to us, he said, you know, we'd love to kind of learn more about how technology is integrating into the fire service and here in Napa County as a whole. And he said, hey, how about wildfire detection cameras? And I said, I'll do you one better. I'll tell you about how we actually integrate technology into our fire engines and our everyday lives on the fire department, utilizing cellular technology and broadband. But first, in order to do that, I kind of want to take you on a really 2-second history journey of our communication ability. And that first goes all the way back to the very beginning with pull boxes and telegrams. Telegram, the very first way to get communication, and weirdly enough, some of our East Coast family still uses these pull boxes. They're on every corner, and if you have a fire near you, you go pull a pull box, and the fire department comes to that address or to that box location to figure out what's going on. Since then, we've advanced. We got into radios. They started, you know, gigantic, the size of half a fire engine, and now, of course, they fit in your pocket. And we had radios all the way up until about 2012, when here in Napa County, we started integrating iPads into our fire engines and utilizing a software called Incident View, which started to get some information about the calls and what was going on into our fire engine. For the next 10 years or so, it was very limited. And through our budgeting process, we were allowed to get actually an iPad in every single engine in 2022 and introduced a brand new technology called Tablet Command, which is what I'm going to spend a little bit of my time about and telling you how that integrates and how all these things kind of connect. And it's through that software. And it utilizes the cellular service, which is on the iPad. And cellular service in Napa County, not to discuss the efficacy of this map, but it basically just shows how widely diverse and varied our cellular coverage is, from Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all over the place. And so recently we've started putting what's called cradle points into some of our fire apparatus, which actually take multiple different signals from multiple different carriers to be able to continue to have full coverage and full service to our fire apparatus, and we'll slowly start rolling that out here over the coming years. But ultimately, Tablet Command, again, is where I want to focus, and this is a software on our iPad that starts to take a lot of different integrations and bring them into one single software. So first things first, it brings in mapping. We get real-time updates from our Esri mapping, our integrations. The slide on the left is a crazy slide that has, or picture, or whatever, that has so many different layers and icons and all kinds of different things that we're pulling in. And I'll tell you a little bit about more in a little bit. Real-time CAD integration, so that's integrating with our dispatch center, which I'll talk about. Vehicle locations, I'm glad Valley Internet's in the room. Meter Me is a big thing, which again we'll hit. First Due, which is an integration into our property data and inspection reports and fire hydrants and things. And finally, Alert California cameras and much more. But first things, this is a view of the software. So this is our incident dispatch, or our incident screen, and our Tablet Command software, because we're integrated with CAL FIRE, actually covers 6 counties. And so we see everything that's happening through all of those counties and their cooperative agreements through this software. And we can tap in and find out information of what's going on for a call. So if we wanted to dive in, we actually can start to get real-time notes as the dispatcher is keying that in over the air and over broadband and over cellular to telling us what's going on. Previously, when we had radios, we got none of this information. When we got dispatched initially, it would be dispatched for a person who is feeling weak and dizzy, and we get there and there's full-blown CPR in process. Very, very different thing that's going on. And so with this, these integrations and with this technology, we're able to get all of that in real time as, of course, we have coverage as we're running down the road to get to a call. Speaking of running down the road, mapping and where people are. Automatic vehicle location's been around for a long time, but with this software and with iPads, it's that much more affordable. So we can actually see where each other's at, where the closest resource is at, try to get us dispatched to the closest engine dispatch to your home. And we get to share with neighboring agencies. If I was actually able to zoom out, you would see dots all over the state of California for other users that are utilizing this software. So when we get into a fire situation, which I'll show you a slide here in a minute, you actually get to see all the fire engines and where everybody is throughout the entirety of that incident, which is incredible. I mentioned integrations. This one is showing tons of different mapping, not only our locations, but fire hydrants, different fuels projects, fire dozer lines, cameras, meter me's on here. There's a lot of different things that, that we use to get into our software. But I kind of want to take you on a little bit of a journey with me and show you how we use it on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm going to take us back to June 5, when the Crystal Fire broke up on northern end of Napa County. And that's a picture of what this is. You'll see we have a couple fire stations nearby, Deer Park Fire Station, St. Helena Fire Station's there. You can see where their fire engines are. And that's about where the fire started. So we're on the way to the call. We get our initial dispatch. We know that there's a fire, and we want to start figuring out what's going on and what is nearby. So we key up our first layer here. You'll see that squiggly line. That's a fire dozer line that was put in not too long ago, which is great. Now I know I have some sort of containment area that's nearby that we can maybe utilize to capture the fire. I also see on my screen, some fire hydrants. I see a little green dot down on the bottom left, which is a meter water source. And on the far right, you'll see a little arrow there that is actually a camera. And so I can actually click on that camera and pull up that camera in my app in real time to see what's going on. So this is one of the Alert California cameras, and this one is here on Deer Park. And I pull it up and I go, not seeing anything. Let's check another camera. So we pull up the one on Mount St. Helena and go, oh, there's a little fire starting there. We can see the smoke. We can see what's going on. Now the cool thing is with these cameras, there is some early alert detection in them that they notify our dispatch center. So we're seeing more and more often that these cameras that are spread all throughout the county, again, utilizing that broadband technology, is able to alert and to notice and to see all these things that are going on and get us out in front of it. And so in the inception of this particular fire, as you see it here, it doesn't actually look all that big, which is great. We want to catch them. We want to catch them early and often. So I know I have a fire, I know I have some resources nearby, and so I actually want to see what water I have. I got a giant reservoir nearby, Bell Canyon, great, but I can't get a fire engine there. And so I'm going to select my closest water source, which is that little dot below, and that's actually a meter me tank. And so when I select that, I actually get real-time information from those tanks as to how much water is available. So this particular tank I selected is a 10,000-gallon tank. It had reported about 4 minutes prior to when I took this screenshot. And it told me it had 9,280 gallons of water available for me to be able to get to the fire. That is a game changer for us. These things are starting to pop up all over the place in our county, and this is just one integration as we're headed down the road. So when I get to the call, I get into a functionality in Tablet Command to run the incident. And I'm not going to detail everything on this because it's a lot. But ultimately what it is on the left-hand side is the ability for the incident commander to start giving assignments to different fire engines. And so as if I was engine 1482, I could look on here on my drive-in before I actually get there, and the fire incident commander has already assigned me to Division A, and so that's where I'm going to go, rather than getting stacked up or bound up. I can go directly to my assignment and where I need to go. And the incident commander has a good visual of where everybody is. He can click into the right screen, I kind of alluded to this earlier, he can actually see in real time where every one of us is at, as long as we have that coverage and service, which is, again, game changer and absolutely amazing. In the end for this fire, just to sort of wrap a bow on the demo, it ended up being 60 acres and a huge props to all the crews that did that because it was very steep terrain, but a great effort to be able to, again, utilize the technology, utilize all of our resources to fight a fire, what ended up being a very early season fire here in the county of Napa. So what's next for us as we're going ahead? We talk about things to come. Mobile data terminal is integrating into our tablets this year. What that actually allows us to do is when we're going to an incident, we can hit a button and it immediately tells dispatch that we're on our way. Don't have to key up the radio, don't have to do anything else, hit a button, we're coming to you. We should have that a little bit later this year. Fire Mapper is a screenshot there on the left. Fire Mapper is an integrated app into tablet command where the incident commander can actually start drawing all the things you see here. Again, I won't get into the specifics of it, but where a fire line is, where a dozer line may need to go, where we're going to land helicopters. They can actually in real time start drawing all this stuff out on the app with their finger, and it's showing up on all of our tablets and all of our fire engines and all of our cell phones as well. And so it actually starts interconnecting and interrelating all of us. Another thing coming up that I didn't put on here, but accountability for individual firefighters is on its way. So we can wear a tag and you can actually see where we are, which is amazing. We've integrated or about to integrate into our feed, live video feed from aircraft. So as they're flying over, giving us mapping, we can see that real live video stream on our tablets. And then, of course, satellite detection. That's kind of the next biggest thing. We talked about cameras before and being able to get early detection on camera. Satellite's the next big deal. They're already throwing satellites up into space to be very specifically for early fire detection, to be able to pick up heat sources, to be able to determine via AI what that heat source actually is, and quickly get that information to our dispatch centers, and then get that information out to us, even in the field, again, via our tablets. So we are constantly building this out. I kind of call it my trains, planes, and automobiles because we can see the fire engines, we can see the aircrafts, and I'm working on the wine train. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
What difference, what percentage would you assign to your ability to respond timely in a timely manner and contain the damage because you have the full technology deployment known that you just went through?
Like how much better, more efficient
yeah,
are we?
Yes, yes.
Ooh, I don't know if I could put a percentage, but I would say massively so. The day that we turned this software on to be able to start giving us those notes that I was telling you about was absolute game changer for us and how we operated. Not only for the fire, but even the medical side, because that starts changing some of the things, the tactics that we may take for the fire or the equipment that we may bring into a medical call.
So I do accept that. Let's just take the fire that you had 60 acres burned. Without the technology, what likely would have been the acreage burned?
I think that fire, if I recall, actually from the aircraft that were flying over, had a potential for 150 or so.
Yeah, that's right.
So it definitely could have been larger. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, JR. There are days when my phone rings incessantly or I get a million texts in a row that I wish I could just go back to my old answering machine. But then I hear a presentation like that and I say, technology really is good for something. So thank you. Really appreciate that. And thanks, everyone. Thank you for everyone who spoke today, everyone who gave us the benefit of the information that they had and shared it with us. Thanks for everyone for staying for a 3-hour meeting. I know that's a long time, but I hope it was worth your while. And I would like to invite you back to the next one. We do want to hold future meetings. We'd like to develop working groups. So we would get a group of interested people who would meet like for an hour once a month. We can do it over Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And then every 3, 4, or 6 months, and I'm not sure, I'm going to kind of leave it up to the audience to tell me. I'd like to have another one of these meetings where we can all come together and the people who've been working in the working groups can tell us what they've learned and what they've come up with and what plans they've made. And we can get some other informational presentations like the ones we saw today. And I just have to say, I think every single one of them was excellent. And get updates on what the grant funding situation looks like and all that sort of stuff. So Again, I would like to encourage everyone to fill out either on paper or online the feedback form, because that's how, for one thing, you can tell us how often you'd like to have these meetings. So me, I'd like to have one every week, but then again, I'm a little bit biased, so I will gladly bow to your wishes. But initially, I would like to have working groups on internet-enabled technologies, digital equity and literacy, and broadband deployment issues. I listed here on the agenda, excuse me, if you have a copy of that, broadband workforce development, but that's kind of a, right now, an uncooked egg, and I think that needs to be thought about and get a little more information about that. But then I would maybe like to do something about that, because there is a possibility of very good jobs coming from all this grant money that's coming out, and of course, I'd like to get Napa County and our neighboring counties, of course. I don't want to leave you out, Kate. Everybody get a piece of that. So, but again, to be clear, this is not all about getting grant money or pushing technology on people. It's about what the technology can do for everyone. So I'm going to turn it over to Jan for some closing remarks. And I thank everybody for their attendance and for their participation, and I hope to see you again. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mark, this has been a great session. I just wanted to ask the question, or a clarification, since we have a lot of community group members in the audience. It sounds to me like you're asking for people to let you know of their interest in one of these committees. So how would you like people to indicate that? On the form?
Yeah, you can indicate it on the form. You can send me an email, my card's out there, or I will track you down, one or the other.
Okay, great.
And my email is mark, M-A-R-K, .revis, R-E-V as in Victor, I-S, at countyofnapa.org. So yes, I would love to hear from anyone, even if you are just an individual who's interested. We do get people writing into our broadband at countyofnapa.org for general questions about broadband and whatnot, and I'm happy to answer those if you have any of those, or if you'd like to participate in any of these programs, or if you'd like to see if you can attract some funding for your community group. That's what we're here for, and I am strongly encouraging you to get in contact with me. And like I said, I will track you down if I don't hear from you. So
Sounds
thanks
great.
very much.
I guess the one thing I would add too is someone might not know what committee they want to be on, but it's kind of like college. You don't have to declare a major right away. You could just say, I'm interested, keep me in the loop.
Absolutely. Or check all of them, and then you can just drop out of the ones you don't like, just like they do in college. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone. Wow, a lot of information that we threw at you today. We did collect the slides, so we will put those on our website, countyofnapa.org/broadband, and we'll have a section in there that you can click on to get to those presentations. It's the kind of the key takeaways that or a couple kind of themes that I got out of this, hopefully you did too, was one, the internet connectivity that we need for everything that we do nowadays. So in county government, with fire, being able to respond quicker to fires. I know the county itself, because I'm part of doing this for county departments, but being able to provide more services online, and so you don't have to come to a county office, and that's great. But when you're underserved or unserved, that doesn't help. And so part of that first part of it is getting the infrastructure in place so that everybody can get access to these services. And the other part of it is equitable access. And that's another part that we need to rely on our community partners, because you have your contacts to the residents that you serve, and you can help us get information out to them. Also, gather information from them on what are they seeing are the challenges. And so I think it's key that we stay engaged with our community partners And Sunny, thank you so much for the the gift that you brought today. I think we'll find a use for that, and we plan to create a plan to use that money and work with our community partnerships to get information out. Equitable and low cost broadband out there too. So thank you so much for that. Let's see here. I think Mark said it all as far as the getting the information out. As far as the survey, get that filled out. And if there's a question on there is if there's something we haven't covered of interest to you, let us know, because then we'll be sure to include that in the future. Just a couple of shout outs before I close this out. I want to thank Mark Revis for his hard work in getting this all arranged. It's coordinating, it's getting presentations, it's getting speakers, it's getting community partners in place, and our internet service providers. So that's a tall order. And I know when Mark first started with us, we talked about community partnership, re-engaging that. We haven't done that for a while. And not just getting the original one going today, but also continuing that on. I know Mark will be doing that. Finally, a shout out to our County Executive Office Communications Group. They've been a key partner for us in getting notifications out, getting the word out through social media, through the other types of media, and really appreciate that. Meg Reagan is a part of our broadband team, and she's been instrumental in updating our website for broadband, and we're going to redo it again, so it makes it more engaging. So thanks to those two on that. And with that, we're done. Thank you so much.